What's up, guys? This is All We Know About, and this is our first podcast. I am Andy.
And I'm Kevin.
And today we're going to be talking about the game that we've all been waiting for, Fallout 4. We're going to start by talking about different sections of it and what interests us. The first thing we're going to be talking about is setting.
Yeah. So we all know that the game's coming out on November 10th.
Yep.
Right, we've all been hyped up the crap about it. We all saw the announcement trailer, then we saw the E3 conference, and none of us can wait for it. Fallout Shelter is something I've been playing to absolute shit.
So,
yeah, one of the things we're going to talk about a lot in this as well is the parallels that it draws with Fallout Shelter, because there's an absolute shit ton of them.
you can tell that they made Fallout Shelter with a certain design so that it could get us ready for things that are going to be in Fallout 4.
Yeah, like one of the cool things about it really is that they slid these things in.
Yep.
So, as we'll talk about later on, how RADS is now different rather than affecting your hunger and things like that. And now it like decreases your maximum health. That was in Fallout Shelter. You know?
I think we're going to be playing Fallout 4 in a month's time and be like, we're going to be playing it and we're going to see things in Fallout 4 that we recognise and go, you sly fuckers, and realise that it's in Fallout Shelter.
Absolutely. Right, so today we're going to start off with setting is the first thing we're going on. So obviously the game's set in Boston.
Which I think is a great choice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you know more about this than I do, but it's got various landmarks in it, stuff like that.
Well, it's got the Institute of it's got the Massachusetts Institution of Technology, which is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, which is obviously a really interesting place because it's full of technology. They've mentioned it before in Fallout 3, and there's a good link to it. The setting of Boston's perfect anyway because it's the area of freedom. You know, the American people associate it with freedom. And I think it's a great place to set off with. You know, I mean, it's got beautiful landmarks, and I just can't think of a better place to be honest. We knew it was hinted from a long time. No one had an issue with it when it was hinted, and you know, it's great landmarks like Fenway Park, and also we're going to see monuments. We're going to see things that link us to the American Revolutionary War.
Yeah, one of the other things I was thinking about quite a lot is because we've got Fenway Park as a major landmark in the game. I'm wondering if there's going to be a link to baseball. So in all the games, you have these sort of mini games in it, like ways to make money, etc., etc. Where you think of like Caravan, and then in Fallout New Vegas, obviously had a lot of gambling. Whether baseball's going to be a big part of it, because if you look inside there,
in Diamond City,
in Diamond City, you can see lots of little things like shops that refer to baseball.
Well, there was a bloke who had in the announcement trailer when it shows Diamond City, you can see that there's a bloke who's got a baseball bat wearing a baseball outfit. So I think they're going to be boasting whoever runs Diamond City, I mean, we don't know yet, they're going to be kind of boasting the heritage of what it used to be, trying to sell props from it. I think when you walk into Diamond City, you're immediately going to get met by merchants who are trying to sell you crap from 200 years ago.
Yeah, loads of love. I want a baseball cards might be a thing.
That would be... Was it like a collectible?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about that in real life. I don't know, like the kind of trading game that goes on there.
In New Vegas, they did caravan cars that you could play. So you could play like a game of Caravan. That'd be quite cool.
I played a bit of Caravan, mainly for like the achievement that was on it.
I couldn't be fucked with that.
No? But yeah, card games as well. Like I don't know if you played The Witcher 3, but they've got a game in there called Gwent, and I saw it at first, and I was like, well, because I'm doing the same thing. I now don't look at achievements before I start playing the game.
Oh right.
Because it ruins the game for me.
Yeah, I'm not an achievement hunter.
Yeah, I am. I'm massive, but if I look at the achievements, all I do is like, right, I want to get that one, get that one.
Yeah.
But I saw this Gwent game, and there's a quest comes up to beat them all, and I was like, that's got to be an achievement, isn't it? I was like, I won't look, but yeah, I reckon it is.
Beat them all, jeez.
Exactly, it's like Pokemon's catch them all, so I've been playing a shitload of it. It's actually really fucking fun.
Really?
Yeah, I'd advise anybody who's playing The Witcher 3, you know, if you like things like that, give it a go.
Yep. Another thing I like about the setting, this is the first Fallout
back
game.
on topic, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
We've got to get us back on topic, you know what we're like. So the first thing that I thought was really interesting about this is the fact that you actually see before the bombs. And people had a guess about that from when they saw the announcement trailer, which gave pretty much half the world's population, pretty much all the men, a rock hard boner for probably...
I think some women had some rock hard bits about
I think some women had surgery.
You can't make this a male thing.
Some women had surgery, got dicks put on, and they got a boner from it. Yeah. The thing is, with Fallout, before the bombs, it's just such an interesting idea. It was hinted in the announcement trailer. We all thought it was coming. We saw it at E3, and it's a great idea because whenever you play Fallout 3, especially, you look at the terminals, how they're talking before, and I don't know about the rest of the world out there, but when I used to watch it, I used to absolutely love the idea that you can kind of think back to how amazing it used to be. You're looking at the world outside, and you think about when it was that classic 50s perfect homes, like home, you know, it was all perfect suburban society, probably, you know, black people in the other bad part of it, considering this is based in the 50s, but we don't quite know. And, you know, it was just a perfect society full of consumerism. And then you get the bombs fall and you see the fallout after. So finally, people's imagination is going to match up with the game when they show you how perfect it was before the war.
Yeah. I do want to see how those two align because for people who don't know properly, the idea is that the Fallout game is set in a parallel universe,
Yeah.
where there's a technological split. I don't know, is it like in the 1950s?
It was it was just after World War II. They forgot to, they didn't invent something from, I can't remember, I saw it once. They didn't invent something that was, I think, a computer part, which is why, whereas we went down the road of the information age, growth in technology, stuff like that, they went down growth of nuclear technology, which is why they're more advanced than us in some ways and less advanced in others. Like we have, whereas we have computers, the internet, systems like that, freedom of speech has been able to develop costly. They've had power armor, nuclear generators, nuclear cars, which has always been awesome. And it's interesting how the timelines have split.
Yeah, completely agree. The other thing that you've got to think about is like, when you talk about society before the bombs, how much of that is going to bleed over? Is it going to be different than it was in Washington? So in Washington, the society is pretty much set on like a 50s lifestyle.
Yeah.
Everybody lives this 50s lifestyle, whereas in Boston, you have MIT. Like, has that continuously driven people forward? Has society changed in the way it works? And there's another thing to look at as well, is how was MIT itself affected by the bombs dropping? Like, did it get hit? Did it get blown up? Because if not, then they've got a load of gear in there that they could obviously use.
Yeah. Well, I think that from what we can see is, obviously when you're talking about the 50s lifestyle, I think it is still much that, because America was caught in that 50s lifestyle, and it seems prudent that it would continue on after 200 years, because people want to hold on to the past. They want to, anything that was from the past is considered valuable in 200 years later when everything else is destroyed. And this sort of society was all over America. Boston's not far away from Washington anyway. I think we're going to see a lot of similar stuff. And I mean, when you watch the E3 showcase, when they showed the what's it called? When they showed the like before the war, when you're going around your perfect pristine house, it's all very 50s designed. It's very 50s how people how the gentleman that knocks at the door from Vault-Tec, the way he speaks to you, it's all very 50s, and I think they're going to keep in line with that. But it's interesting what you say about where the bomb fell, because we can tell that Boston wasn't hit directly by the nuclear bomb. It's obvious that when the Chinese dropped it, they either missed it, or they had a few pints, or they just, I don't know, fancy bombing somewhere else. But we can tell that they didn't hit the direct city. But like I think you've mentioned this to me before, they have, it looks like areas are being rebuilt, either by MIT or another force, but there's definitely some reconstruction going on.
Yeah, and we'll talk a bit more about that later. Sort of the way, if you think of like the comparison to New Vegas, of how that's all pristine, and how in this one it looks like sort of scrap work. I do agree, it does look like very 50s if you have a look at it. Yeah. It looks 50s sort of style, but with this technological twist, so the technologies have gone down different avenues and things like that.
Absolutely.
Aside from that, when you start the game, just talking about the setting, you have the protagonist and his family.
Yes.
Yeah, which is something that's interesting.
So I'd like to talk about when we get into the story, definitely.
Yeah, for all you know, obviously, at the start of the game, is you would play either the male or the female character, and you've got a baby based on how you look. Yeah, which is quite interesting. Obviously, we'll talk about a bit more of that later on.
Yeah.
Other than that, the setting starts of the game, the Brotherhood of Steel
Yep.
and the Institute. Basically, there's probably a lot of pretext. Again, we'll talk about this more in the story, but there's a lot of pretext about what's going on there and what's going on between those two factions.
No, I completely agree. But we'll get onto that.
Yeah, and next up is combat.
Combat.
The first thing that we want to talk about is slow-mo VATS.
It's an interesting idea, and I think that I think there was a lot of people, even if they were Fallout fans, that didn't like VATS because it made the game. Well, two things. It made it easier in some sense, and it took people away from the idea that they're in the moment, in the fighting. What I like about the slow-mo VATS is it kind of represents your person being a well-trained shooter, and you kind of slow down, you're taking your breath, you can spend a little bit of time aiming your shot, but again, because it runs out of AP points, this is only going to be a small part of a big battle, and I think the fact they've made it slow motion now still keeps you in the game. Yeah,
I think what I would say is that Fallout 3, when it first came out, was absolutely amazing on so many different levels, and revolutionary as a open world RPG.
Absolutely.
One thing it was shit at was combat.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with this. Fallout 3 is my favourite game so far. But
definitely, yeah.
Up to a point, obviously, modernisation of games has made other ones better. I have a Fallout tattoo on my arm. But, the combat was crap. I mean, you had one sniper, and that was bollocks. I mean, you couldn't aim up anything or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the way that they made up for that shit combat, I think, was VATS. Like, if you completely and utterly hated the combat in the game, you could play it as VATS. Also, it brings you back to that sort of like turn-based thing that Fallout 1 and 2 had.
Yep.
The fact that the game would pause while you choose where you're shooting and who you're shooting, and you could play it a bit more tactically. not that I ever did that. It was just like ran in, really.
Yeah,
and then just before like a ball hit me in the face, he'd always had that weird freeze frame, like the second before he's going to hit you, and you're like, oh, shit.
This is when you knew that Fallout was a great game, because even with a quite outdated combat system, something you'd expect to see in like the early 2000s games is very primitive. It doesn't work well with the controllers. Even with that, it was still an incredible game, and people still enjoyed combat. So I think now that they've taken, like Bethesda have taken notice of this and added this to it, I think that we're going to see an even better game as well as an even better combat system.
Yeah, and the other thing to work with that, as you guys can see here, there's a critical hit system that they showed in the E3 demo. So you fill up your critical hit bar, and when you shoot the guy, you get a little Vault Boy like spinning around, showing you that you've got a couple of
pistols.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like kind of like Gunslinger in a way. Remember the picture of the Gunslinger?
I think it's the same picture actually.
Yeah, it probably linked to them. We'll talk a bit more about how skills and everything like that's changed later on.
Yep.
Maybe Gunslinger improves how quickly you get critical hit. I don't know what kind of damage it does. Normally with crit hits, you've got 2 times damage.
Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, we can only speculate because of that. There's not a lot of detail.
What's interesting, critical hit. Yeah, it seems like something you're going to save up to, and it will be like a big punch. It will. So, say you're fighting a big player, you fought a few other guys, you saved up your critical hit bar. Big player comes along, maybe a behemoth, maybe a Brotherhood of Steel, especially with the new armour. You hit the critical hit, does a walloping amount of damage to them straight away, gets you back in the game.
What you've also got to keep in mind is where critical hits mainly come around. I mean, if people here play Diablo, or people here, even The Witcher has seen that as well, there are some characters who purely focus, you don't really focus on your damage.
Yeah.
You focus on getting your critical hit damage
Yeah.
up, and your critical hit frequency up.
Yeah.
And then you like absolutely just smash out the critical hits. What it could be a thing of is, I believe with different skills, I would imagine that you can increase basically make your crit bar fill up faster.
It wouldn't surprise me, no.
Yeah, and then you could also have different skills. Well, this is an obvious
I would
thing.
say perception would be a good one there. If
Yeah.
you can increase your perception, your critical hits go up a lot more.
I suppose your perception is like what you see.
Which is why I thought it would work with the VAT system.
They've changed the special skills around a lot,
Yep.
and we'll get onto that again later.
Yep.
But crits is definitely a new thing that's coming in.
Yep.
I'm terrible in games when you get things like a skill which you have to basically build up and then use it. I never end up using it.
Yep.
I'm always thinking there's going to be another more powerful enemy. Like, so you see where he uses it on mole rats. I'd never use it on mole rats.
No.
I can have a full bar and I'm going to be like, nope.
You know that someone's a noob if they use like the critical hit on a mole rat.
You say that. they did it in the thing just to show it off. I'll probably use it like once.
Now what you're
So
going to
I'm
get is you're
not
going to get one bloke in months and months' time playing this game, hearing this podcast, and while killing a mole rat with that, going, "Shut up, guys! Seriously."
And he was about to die, so that's fine. You can let him off. He had to do it to save his life. But yeah, going back to the Soma VATS thing as well, it kind of gets rid of that whole thing of, I'll just quickly go to VATS, I'm going to think about what I'm going to do, walk off, get a drink, come back.
Can no longer happen.
Yeah. The other thing, talking about that, I suppose it's this kind of a combat thing, is when you look at the Pip-Boy,
Yep.
you can look around it.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
So beforehand, Pip-Boy used to be like a not save screen, a pause screen.
Yeah.
Whereas now it looks solely different to that. I imagine, I don't know if anybody's played State of Decay, but you know when you get the map up.
Absolutely love that game.
Yeah.
You can still get attacked while you're
Yeah, and you can hear them like coming up and shit. I think it's going to be very close to that.
Yeah. So you think that while you're on the Pip-Boy, it'll still be going on?
Yeah, so basically, in the middle of the thing, if there's something about to attack you, you can't quickly go on and whack on a load of stim packs. Unless you can hotkey them.
Well, yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, that adds benefit to the idea that obviously when they announced the amazing fact that you can have your own Pip-Boy, both of us were too late to get it, unfortunately. But you can have that on your arm, which means in the middle of combat, you could be tapping on that bad boy, sorting out your stim packs, and I think the reason why that justifies what we're talking about is because it's less likely that they would. I mean, it's a reason for you to want to have the second screen, because if they have removed the ability to pause the game, then there's definitely the reason for you to have it on you to save time.
Yeah, the other cool thing is you don't have to have the Pip-Boy edition to have that second screen.
Yep.
You can still download the app and just use it through that way. Just talking about the Pip-Boy edition, I saw the E3 conference, I was like, I'll get that in a few days' time when I get paid. And it came out, I was like, sweet, definitely going to get that. It wasn't there.
I thought to myself, I've got a couple of days of work, then I'll come home after those when I've got my day off, or sort it all out, then go on there, sold out. I was like,
And the same thing happened. We came out again on, was it July 1st? And then I missed that as well.
I didn't even hear about that.
There is someone, and now they're saying that the factories aren't making anymore.
Yeah, what a load of bollocks is that?
Oh, I don't know. They might do it to sort of like...
They're building up the hype, and then they're going to cash in when they announce it again.
A lot of people say that. I don't think it is that. I honestly do think these factories you think about how much work it is to produce something.
Yeah.
So you've got to do your prototype, then you've got to bash out.
Yeah.
You think if you're doing a game, I don't know how many Pip-Boys they did.
Yeah.
I think the game, so we're obviously UK. Over here, Game got the exclusivity rights for the Pip-Boy.
Yeah.
They had on average, I think it was an allocation of 7 per store,
Yeah.
which isn't a lot, but if you assume there's like 1,000 stores, maybe,
Yeah.
that's like 7,000 just for the UK.
Yeah.
Think about how many units that they've got to make
Yeah.
worldwide to like fill this quota.
But there's definitely the demand for it.
Yeah, but it's the pure thing of the factories have other games that they need to make crap for.
Yeah.
Don't be wrong, like I would rather like another game just not have it and
Yeah.
I get my Fallout 4, but obviously the devs can't really push that.
Something I wanted to talk to you about was, this is something that you had a quick look into, was scaled enemies classes, like in Skyrim.
Yeah, so if you look at obviously the picture we got up on the screen now, you can see a Raider veteran.
Yep.
So I don't know if you remember in Skyrim, but when you first started fighting, I say Druga, but you say Draug, don't you?
Draugr. Yeah, I say Draugr, but I'm probably wrong.
Yeah, they're just Draugr, and then it goes up and up and up, which means that if you didn't train your magic at the beginning,
Yeah.
if you want to go back later on,
You get
you
fucked.
get fucked up.
Yeah.
It looks like it's the same sort of thing here.
Well, you say that, but in Fallout 3, they didn't have that scaled levelling up, but you still had Raider veterans, Raider leaders. You had different varieties of Raiders, and they didn't actually increase in like amounts throughout the game. So it could just be the same in Fallout 4. This Raider veteran could just be, an uncommon Raider.
I actually have to disagree. Like when we look at the skills later
Yeah,
on,
well, fuck you.
oh, that's how it goes, isn't it? And I'm right, so that's what I look at. When we look at the skills later on, it looks a lot closer, not necessarily closer to Skyrim, but more of a middle ground between Fallout 3 and Skyrim, how the skills are done.
I'd be surprised if they didn't take popular ideas from Skyrim and put them into Fallout.
Yeah, sure. It's just the way the skills worked. Still, like, pottering around, I'm going to explain that in a minute when that comes up. Anyway, yeah.
Stay tuned next week.
Yeah, exactly. After I finally decided to... It's out in October, isn't it?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We're going to go off to... we're going to go off
I'll be watching that. Anyway, yeah, moving on. We've got like things like... Oh yeah, so power armor is the other thing that we wanted to talk about. I don't know if anybody else noticed this when they were watching the trailer, but the way he sort of like climbs into the power armor makes it feel like a lot more of a vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the primary thing to think about is when you're playing Fallout 3, as soon as you got your, was it T-51B, wasn't it?
Yeah, the second you put that on, you're god.
Yeah, and you didn't touch any other armour. I suppose some people might have. Like, you had the stealth suit in New Vegas, didn't you?
Yep.
Like, I used that a lot. But as soon as you got the power armour, generally you didn't change your armour.
Yep.
So now you climb into your power armour. So you have a set of armour that you wear all the time.
Yep.
And you constantly cycle through other sets of armour if you want to do that.
Yep.
Or combine them, because it's all layered now. And then on the other side of that, you climb into your power armour for like intense battles against like death claws and stuff along those lines.
What I'm curious about is, so obviously this isn't an armour suit like the normal ones, it's one more like a vehicle, you jump into it. What I'm wondering then is where exactly are you going to, like with the armour, so obviously you can make it at your house or whatnot, how are you going to move it from place to place? Do you have to wear it to a place, jump out of it and then go do your stuff, or is there some way of calling it in?
I don't think they're going to do it that way. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be. You've got to wear it, take it somewhere, and do it because.
I think you'll call it in. I think so.
Yeah, maybe
there's got to be a way of transporting it, other than maybe you carry something, you throw it down on the ground, and pops out, comes a giant suit. But again, I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't know if they might go for that. I say cop out. It's kind of what I want them to do. Of maybe there's like stations across the thing, and your power armor's magically there.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I appreciate New Vegas wasn't Bethesda, but you had the Courier Dropbox.
Yeah, I like those.
I never used it. I like the functionality.
Awesome.
Yeah, or the stashes in The Witcher. I'm talking a lot about The Witcher here. You get a lot of things like that where you can put it in one place, and you can access it.
Well, sometimes it's necessary in games.
Like can you imagine if you've got one shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, and where you've just got your power armor, and then you want to do something on the other side of the map.
I think what they'll do is, because it's quite a powerful piece of kit, I think that what's going to happen is, say if you're in an area, it turns out to be a lot, there's a lot more hostiles than you would have expected there to be. You throw down a flare, like we've seen in the trailer. You can throw down a flare, get a vertibird to come pick you up.
Yeah.
I think that what you'll do is you'll throw down a flare, and maybe a vertibird comes over and drops it off or something. I mean, we're assuming that you're not going to be able to get the power up right at the start of the game here.
I think this is my speculation on how the power armor is going to come up. I'm probably wrong as shit. But everybody's seen Preston. What's his second name? Preston Healy or something along those lines. That's probably wrong as shit. But Preston something. The black dude at the beginning when you go.
No, that's racist.
Is that racist?
I think that's
right. Oh, well, so the dude at the beginning with the dark hair,
the rainbow person.
Yeah, with the cowboy hat and the thing. We'll avoid this just in case. And so you chat to him.
Yep.
I imagine at first they're being sieged by raiders.
Yeah, it looks that way.
Yeah, so I imagine that then you go to solve a bigger problem for them.
Yep.
And I think that clip where you see him climbing into the power armor in that sort of destroyed building, I think that's where you get the first suit of power armor.
Yep.
And you get in that and you solve their problem, and then you keep that power armor.
What I'm grabbing from the obviously Todd Howard shows a small amount of that mission, that quest, and by the simplicity of it and the way it kind of welcomes you into the game, I'm getting the impression that that's soonish in the game.
Yep.
I think that maybe when you arrive in the town, we don't know yet if it's, it could be Concord, it could be Boston, we're not too sure exactly which town it is, but when he arrives...
I think is it Lexington? I think it might be Lexington.
Oh, is it Lexington?
I could be completely wrong.
Well, that would make sense because Preston's dressed as a Minuteman, which is,
and it's in the town hall, isn't it?
Yeah,
Right
exactly.
at the top.
Very revolutionary. And I'm thinking that, so he introduces you to the musket laser.
Laser musket.
Yeah,
that
musket
cool.
laser.
I like that thing. You don't like it, do you?
What?
The laser musket.
I think it'd be good at the start of the game. It looks powerful, and that's why I think this is at the start of the game. It's kind of like a present for carrying on in the story. I think it's going to be early on, and it'll be to get you into the mood of it. Because obviously you go there, there's only 4 or 5 raiders. Sort them out, go and speak to Preston. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of talk about Preston. I think that Fallout have probably made him a main character, or at least for a good amount of the story. So I think you're going to meet him earlier on, talk to him, and then he's going to become sort of a continuing character, maybe a friend, maybe he's looks after the town off, you can always go back to him. But I think you'll definitely, that scene we see where you turn up there and you go through I think it's called the Museum of Freedom, it's definitely going to be early on in the game.
I don't know if you've seen him in Fallout Shelter. Have you heard him in Fallout Shelter?
No, I haven't had him, but you have.
He's a pretty OP character.
Really?
Yeah, pretty overpowered, which would mean maybe he can be a companion.
Well, he looks sexy as shit in the game, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. On many different levels, but yeah, if you could have him as a companion, that'd be pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'd like that. I don't know who else you'd get. I'm thinking, I don't know if anybody played New Vegas. I imagine you all did. But do you remember Boone?
Boone was probably the most loved character to come out of that game.
Exactly. I did a thing where I was just completely killing all of Caesar's Legion.
Yeah.
You just take Boone, sit up on like a rock and sort of snipe them all.
The classic one was you'd be about to kill someone, his head would just explode, you look back and Boone's giving you a cheeky little smile.
Yeah, or the other one is you're just running through and all of a sudden you get 10 experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, where like slow-mo kills a rad scorpion, you're like, oh yeah, nice.
I remember once I was playing and he was behind me somewhere, I got into a battle and it came up with Boone has died, so I hit hardcore, and I was like, how is this possible?
No, I love Boone. It was annoying because I did my other playthrough. I don't think anybody ever played as Caesar's Legion.
Who the fuck played Caesar's Legion?
I did a playthrough, I was like, fuck it, I'm doing Caesar's Legion.
People hated Caesar's Legion so much they're calling for it to be wiped from the existence of the Fallout game. They don't like the idea the Legion was put into the game. The NCR always existed, but a lot of people don't like the Legion. They feel like it was just they created a bad guy out of thin air and it wasn't particularly popular.
I think it was a good bad guy.
No, I don't. I'd like to pretend that it isn't in the storyline of Fallout.
I think it was an easy bad guy.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, like, you compare like actual Roman like traditions and stuff like that to now, it's pretty barbaric. So you have these people who, like you remember when you first go to Nipton where they have the lottery.
Yeah, there's people all strung up.
And that people running around with the lottery tickets. You're like, right, these guys are the bad guys. It's a clear...
I want to know from anybody who's listening to this, if you ever went into the shop in Nipton and there was a bloke sitting down saying they broke his legs and he couldn't move, just kill him, put him out of his misery. If you shoot him, he gets up and runs away. Now that's just some fantastic cooking.
He was faking. That sort of thing. Yeah, faking the entire time. It's a lot. Like you got the guys on the crosses.
Yeah.
Who've been crucified. Did you kill them all?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you did.
But I went up to him
for funsies and to be nice.
Yeah, I went up to him. He's like, "You got to give me some medics or something." I just thought, "Oh, I can't move. I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to have fun with this guy."
I wasn't that dark. Yeah. I was up Mercy.
I sliced him once. He got up and ran off. I was like, "That's when some person like sits in a wheelchair so they can get disability benefit."
Exactly. Absolute favourite. Yeah. Anyway, the next thing we want to move on to is enemy executions. So in the...
That's very cool.
Yeah.
From Skyrim.
Yeah, as you guys can see, like in the E3 conference, there's the death door, basically like picks you up and then shoves its claws in you. Like in Skyrim, there's a similar thing.
Yep.
I think they added that in a patch. Like it slowed down and some random... You'd be about to win a fight, but at very low health, and all of a sudden you get fucking decapitated. This is like a bit different. Like in that, it just sort of like takes you out. In this, the death ball like physically picks up your character.
I think it might depend on if you're in first or third person at the time. Perhaps if you're in third person, it goes to a more Skyrim sort of takeout.
Yeah, I can see that. I will probably end up playing most of the game in first person.
See, what I love about the game is when I go into combat, I'll go into first person. But just generally when I'm, getting into the idea of my character, because I like to imagine I am the character, as a lot of people who play Fallout do. And I like the idea that I zoom out into third person, my person's walking down the street, I can see him. Soul Survivor's doing well. You kind of put yourself onto that character. That's why people love the Fallout game, and you can put yourself into it. And I think that's going to be really, really fun because you get to look at what they're wearing, walk down. This is my person.
You say that, I always feel if it's third person, I always feel it's a bit more cinematic. like I'm watching it from a third-person point of view.
Yeah, you know I like cinematic stuff, so.
Yeah, I suppose. Whenever we play GTA, it's always like hits B and he's like watching it from the window. Oh, come on, Max, look at where you're going. You are driving. On top of that, talking about death claws, rads now increase when you get hit. We'll mention this earlier.
That's a really good idea. It's going to add a lot of difficulty to the game because before radiation was just kind of. I mean, hopefully they still keep the Geiger counter in. That was sexy.
That is. If you look at the picture of the Pit-Boy, it's got a Geiger counter on it.
No, but as if you can hear
tick
it.
In it. All Geiger counters tick. So
I hope they do. But I mean, that was all that happened. You heard it, and you just kind of went, "Oh, I can stay here for a while." But now you're going to have to keep an eye on it. Rad away. It's going to be something you're going to have to keep on you at all time. I presume Radex just means you get a smaller bar of radiation added to you when they hit you.
Possibly. One thing we'll talk about later on when we go into the UI and HUD, if you look at the power armor, it also has a rad resistance to it.
Yep.
Obviously, we'll go into that more. One thing I did notice is when you're watching the gameplay, not all attacks increase your radiation. So if you get shot by a radio, it doesn't increase it.
Yeah.
So I do wonder whether it's just irradiated creatures. So you see, I think it's called I don't think it's actually a boat flyer, but you know how they've got that thing that jumps on your chest and shoves its face in your chest.
Oh, the blood something.
Blood something.
Yeah.
That increases your rads. I don't know if the Deathclaw does. I didn't see that. But the Mole Rat does as well. So I wonder if it's creatures that are irradiated.
Irradiated, which would mean the Deathclaw would.
Yeah, it probably would if you survive the hit.
Yeah.
Do
you know, I always wonder, right? So with certain animals, they was irradiated in something different. You know, a bear turned into a Yargul.
Yeah, and a white. Those fucking things, yeah.
And a mole, like a rat turned into a mole rat. Why is it that something that appears to be a goat turned into such a terrifying creature as the Deathclaw? It looks like
a goat.
I reckon it's. Look at the horns of it. It's got to be a goat.
They do actually explain where it came from. I can't remember what the fuck.
I think this is one of the things that I'm not too sure about. Yeah.
I remember reading up on it. I cannot remember where it came from now.
It just looks like an angry goat. Like they've spent years being sheared, and now they get their revenge.
It's over-sheared, isn't it? They've got hair on it. The claws are pretty big for a goat. Goats only have hooves.
Yeah, but this is what radiation does to you.
But you've got an opposable thumb. If you have a look at that, that's scary.
Oh, he has got an opposable thumb.
Yeah, exactly. You can do shit. Yeah, make guns.
Because before he wasn't terrifying.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What did he have one before? I have to look back. I don't remember them having opposable thumbs before.
I remember the first time I came across a Deathclaw and I was playing and I was shooting some Enclave in Fallout 3, and then I saw some thing run at me and I thought, well, I'm going to get my trusty hunting rifle. Shot it. I didn't have VATS because I used them all my own guns. So I shot it and it didn't even. I could barely see the sliver of bile go down. Yeah. At which point, everything left my body.
Yeah, and it just fucking starts running for you. Do you remember in New Vegas trying to sneak past the blind ones?
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
that was terrifying.
Yeah. And it's like, it can be terrifying, but sometimes they're like a massive open field.
They're my girlfriend's favourite characters.
What, the blind ones?
Deathclaws.
Oh, Deathclaws.
She loves them. I don't know why.
They're fucking scary as shit. Like when one's running after you. Yeah, mental. The other thing we want to talk about is how, the massive first-person feel of the game.
Yeah.
So
you can tell they've improved.
As I was saying, the Fallout 3 combat, I wasn't a massive fan of. Now they've got this grenade hotkey in it. I don't know if we can see that right now in the trailer. That is a lot more helpful. I mean, Christ, did I absolutely hate grenades in the old game. Never use them. I'd only ever use them if I was playing it on a hard difficulty, trapped in a fucking building with some robots, and no health, no stim packs, and then you're like, pulse grenades. Yeah, but 9 times out of 10, I'll just sell them straight off.
Well, there's a lot you can get from the picture we're looking at. For starters, obviously, grenades have a hotkey, which is the very first person.
Yeah, and a little counter at the side there.
Yep. Another thing is destructible environment, which you see when the part of this video is playing. You see that parts of the wall actually break off when you. So it's like a semi-destructible environment. Another thing I've just noticed is you're actually side by side with a super mutant. Now, this is in some way concluding my worst fear, which is that we're going to be looking at the super mutants from New Vegas rather than Fallout 3. I loved Fallout 3 super mutants because they were this terrifying creature. They weren't smart. They were like an animal.
They were smart ones.
Yeah, there was Fawkes and Uncle Remus or whatever it was.
That's some like American TV show. It wasn't Uncle Remus. It was Uncle Leo.
I'm calling him Uncle Remus from now on.
Uncle Remus.
No, it's a sexy name.
See, that's racist.
And the thing is, I didn't like the ones in Fallout New Vegas because they were like, I don't know what it is about them. I like them more when they're aggressive wild brutes and they're this terrifying creature. They're almost like the apocalypse in physical form. They're super mutants. They're trying to wipe out humanity. They want to eat us or turn us into more of them. This idea that they can talk, I don't like it.
Yeah, you had Uncle Leo in. They did kind of talk in Fallout 3 as well.
Yeah, but it was really primitive.
Yeah.
Whereas with these ones, I liked it in Fallout 3 because the two ones that were smart, they were justified by saying that they were a freak of the experiment.
Yeah, but it is supposed to be a freak of the experiment. I mean, is it Uncle Leo says that if you don't take him up as a wanderer, doesn't he just say, I'm going to wander? He just says, "I'm gonna
you can't
wander
take
around."
him to follow. Right?
Exactly. Oh yeah. So he just says, "I'm going to carry on wandering around."
Do you reckon that could be Uncle Leo then?
I'm not. Don't obviously.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I doubt it, but it'd be really cool.
Yeah.
And Fallout are known for obviously moving things around. I don't know if you guys have played Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. In Fallout 3, the Oasis mission, the tree is called Harold. Harold actually features in Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. Yeah. He has a weird strain of the FEV virus. Really up on it. It's
Which is
really
what makes
interesting.
the super mutants.
Yeah, which is what makes it super mutants, but his is kind of different. He thought it was a ghoul, and everybody else thought it was a ghoul, but his master, who he sort of ran in a crowd with, actually injected him with the FEV virus.
That's interesting.
So obviously they're not all exactly the same, albeit that's kind of the point.
Yeah. Another interesting thing that I noticed is, and you pointed this out to me as well, is that there looks like there's going to be more than one sniper rifle in the game, and hopefully they're going to be effective. Because I don't know if you remember the sniper rifle, but
I fucking remember the sniper rifle.
The issue was, even you couldn't hold your breath and the barrel couldn't stay still. The aiming record, it was just terrible.
There's only one model as well, and
it didn't really do much damage.
Yeah, well, what you can look at now is because of the massive customization, which again we'll get onto in a bit.
Yep.
You've got all this customization to it, so I imagine that. So if you think about your hunting rifle, you can whack a scope on it.
Yep.
You know,
which was something I love to do in New Vegas.
Yeah, even in the trailer alone, you can see that there's more than one sniper.
Yep.
So that's something I'm definitely looking forward to, because sniping, I think sniping's a big part of FPS, like how you actually play your game.
Yep.
If you think back to Skyrim, like you come across, you've got the random raider camps.
Yep.
I say random, they'd be there. I can either run in through the front gate, like swords it, magic it, or I can climb up on that cliff around the side there and just snipe down and try and kill them all. That was generally like my approach. I know everybody takes these games differently, but I think everybody does like a little bit of a stealth approach, a little bit of a sneaky range kill.
Well, what I felt Fallout 3 failed on, but Skyrim prevailed on, was when it comes to sneak. The Skyrim system had a very, very good sneak system. Obviously, it's easier to do as games modernise because you can get more accurate AI and things like that. So obviously, the issue in Fallout 3 was even if you had the Chinese stealth suit on, you had a stealth boy as well just because, and you were crouching, you could walk up, you could be 10 feet away from someone, they're looking in the opposite direction, they'd detect you. I'm hoping they've solved that in this game, and I hope that, one of the key things to stealth games is you have to be able to kill someone quickly, so I'm hoping they've put in the game critical hit from sneaking, which they had in Fallout 3 to an extent, and also maybe the possibility of doing assassinations on people looking away from you.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember in Skyrim, but you could just put a bucket on someone's head and they couldn't see it.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember
cool. That. Don't get me wrong, don't think you're playing the game right.
Yeah.
If you put a bucket on someone's head in real life, they're going to throw it off. But, you put it on, they'll be walking around quite happy.
Can you imagine some bloke, you sit there, a bucket goes over and he just goes, something's not right. Yeah, well, carry on.
Yeah, talking about NPCs as well, when you're attacking, obviously you see it in the thing from the E3 trailer with the mole rats, when you shoot the mole rats, they recoil a hell of a lot. So they actually take the impact of the bullet, other than before it was like when you crippled an enemy's head, he'd hold his head and that'd be pretty much it, other than possibly shooting his weapon out of his hands.
The best observation I've seen of that so far is in the gameplay that they show at the end of the E3 conference for Fallout. They show a feral ghoul that's being shot by a fully automatic weapon, and as each individual bullet, so we're talking about where the feral ghoul would get shot by multiple bullets, and then what you see there is that it flings in different directions for each bullet. There's a lot of bullets hitting it quickly, and they still manage to make it so as each millisecond goes by and it's hit by a different one, it flings out of place. I'll show you the video part I'm talking about later, but it shows that they've got very, very accurate recoil as well.
Yeah, which is kind of the way that it would normally be.
Yeah.
Just going back to something you said earlier on, which I've just reminded me of, is when you're saying about destructive environment, I don't think the environment's actually that destructive.
No, I said semi-destructive.
Yeah, I think when you see in the E3 demo, he throws a grenade and bits of the building fall off.
Yeah.
I doubt that's I don't see them doing that with every single building. It would be awesome if they did, but I think it would think about how big the world is.
I think what happens, say if you throw a grenade into a shed, it won't destroy the shed, but panelling will fly off, I think. Panelling will fly off and despawn. I think it's going to be sort of, Battlefield, I think it was Battlefield 2, before they had fully destructible environments, where parts of buildings would blow up. I can't remember exactly which Battlefield it was, but it was semi-destructible.
Yeah, so you couldn't completely flatten the building?
No, not at all.
Yeah. The other thing that's pretty cool about the game is the dog takedowns. You see in the video?
Yeah, I do see that.
It kind of looks like a ghoul. It grabs it by the leg.
I think it's an android.
You think it's an android?
Yeah, I think it's one of the Siths.
I think it's far too fleshy to be a Sith.
No, I don't think so.
I'm saying Sith. It's a Sith, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not. Is it Star Wars Sith or?
I don't think that's the point.
Yeah.
Regardless, yeah. So I imagine it's cool, but you think it's whatever. So like pulls him down by the leg, jumps on him, like rips his throat
Yeah,
out.
that's very cool.
Yeah, it does it the same thing with a mole rat.
I don't think it will do this with every time it attacks. I think it will be when it's on low health it does that. So similar to in Skyrim, you do an assassination on a player if they've got low health, and I think it was you hold down your trigger. I think that what your dog will do is it will just do the regular biting as Dogmeat did until they're in low health, then it'll pull them down and fuck them.
Yeah, it'd be pretty epic if it was just like it doesn't matter what health we've got, it just jumps on a behemoth and down.
Well, one thing they could do is you could actually have it, so say if you're sneaking, going back to stealth, you could send your dog to attack someone who isn't looking, and the dog goes over, kills them quietly, maybe pulls them down, grabs their neck, and then, what's it, you just carry on. That would be a good way. You have your dog with stealth.
That would be pretty epic, actually. And you, not only that, you can coordinate attacks. Well, which comes back to something, we'll reference this now because it is combat, with the rebuild. Obviously you can have settlers, we'll go into this in more detail in a little while, but what we're going to talk about now is whether you can get them to follow you as you sort of leave your base. Like, that'd be epic. Like, I know you want to like, dress them all up in the same gear.
Yeah, no, I love the idea that you can have your own town. I mean, I really immersed myself into the game, and I know there are a lot of immersion gamers out there who are just fully behind me right now, and for that I love you guys. And what I'm saying here is that you need to feel like this is your community and you're the leader. So you can walk into a town and they're all wearing maybe the same outfit, maybe some combat gear or something like that, and you just feel like it's your people, your town.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to say to them, you, follow me. But I still like the idea that it's your town.
The compromise is that it looks like they can man defences and such, but we'll have a little talk about that later on. Anyway, next thing on the combat is a combat arena. I've seen that in the eatery thing. That looks quite cool.
There's a picture on that later as well, and the combat arena, I think it's going to be part of one of the major cities. I mean, I said Diamond City, do you disagree?
I don't think it will be. I think Diamond City, people get very moralistic. Is that the right word? Or
yeah, but even some of the most prideful towns in Fallout 3 still had, if you look at Rivet City, Rivet City was the best constructed city in the game in terms of the amount of people living there and the safety of it. And yet they still would say, if you've got a problem with someone, go deal with it yourself. The guards would say. I think it's still quite primitive. They haven't gone back to good society.
Yeah, but you don't have like a massive fighting arena. It's like with a big cage of. It looks fucking epic. I reckon it's going to be a bit more of a. I think you can have cities which are governed that have like a certain form of democracy and they're very civilised. Blah blah blah.
I think they'll have a set leader. I think because we're talking about primitive to post-apocalyptic times.
And then I think on the other side of that, you can have like. Not necessarily raider cities, but where people who don't want to be governed by the law have a community, and that's where the arena's going to be, and that's where you're going to find out. If you look in the picture, we'll see later on, the woman in there is wearing very raiderish armour.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, it looks all melee as well.
So you reckon maybe there's a way you can interact with raiders?
Yeah, there was before. I mean, if you remember the slave town in Fallout 3.
Oh god, what was that? It used to be an old shopping centre, didn't it? It was called
something like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. There's a pin there somewhere.
Was there one of the Vault-Tec statues? Remember the Vault Boy statues? I think one of them was in there.
Yeah, there was,
I can't remember the bobbleheads, the Vault bobbleheads.
Yeah.
I think one of them was in there as well.
Yeah.
In the guy's
Paradise Falls.
Yeah, Paradise Falls. Yeah, I remember him having like the love bed, with the heart and like the velvet sheets.
That dude was there. Yeah, I remember that. Just fucking set up in his sex shop. Yeah.
There's another guy like that. If you remember, like
Chekhov or something, was it?
Yeah, he was like a Russian name.
Yeah.
And he's a bit like that. Yeah. And then the other one was in DC, and it was one of the people that Mr. Crowley wanted you to shoot. Something of.
I couldn't do it. It was just too beautiful. I couldn't do it.
Oh, I killed him.
Did you?
I killed him, took him to start.
But then his bitches run away.
Yeah, it's this really awkward moment. You're like looting the house, they're like running around trying to crouch and hide from you, and you're like.
Well, I remember I fell in love with that man when I walked inside. It's when he goes, I never trust a man without a drink, or one with a drink for that matter. I was like, I can get along with.
Took a better big.
But the combat arena. Well, I mean, in the trailer, I can't remember which trailer it is, but I noticed that at one point you're walking up to a camp. It looks like a fully established camp in this sort of swamp area we've seen, and it's pouring it down with rain, and there is tribal-looking tents. They've got spikes with.
So you're approaching it with your gun out in the middle of the night.
Yes, and there's corpses on top of the spikes. That could be a raider camp. It could be one that's actually approaching.
Yeah, I don't know why you'd approach it in the middle of the night with your gun drawn. He's like probably like ADSing as well, like aiming down the sight, walking up to it slowly.
Well, if you see corpses on the spike, you might want to get your gun out.
I don't know if you know it's friendly. It might just be for the setting of the thing. Next point is with ghouls, like their limbs can be shot off now.
That's a really good thing they've done.
Yeah, if you watch, not that we're recommending you watch it because you shouldn't apparently, but the Gamescom I think it was released by Bethesda.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
We clearly don't endorse anything you're looking at.
Yeah, and we won't have anything from that in here either, obviously, because Bethesda's lawyers are like bringing everything down that has anything.
Bethesda will send a missile to this house the moment we say it.
And good on them. Like, no one should have seen that other than the people they wanted to.
Yeah, I support Bethesda.
Other than us, so we can. Well, yeah, we can talk about this. But regardless, you can shoot off the ghouls' limbs now.
Yep.
So you can shoot off their arms and shit like that. I noticed that once you shoot off their legs, obviously an enemy's health bar is red.
You said they become docile, didn't you?
I reckon that it's sort of like they become a bit docile. Maybe like as Andy was saying before, like in Dying Light, when you shoot their legs off, they won't do anything until you get to them, and then they like grab onto your leg.
Yeah.
But if it's got a yellow health bar, as generally as a Fallout law, you're all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't think they'll become docile. I think that what the yellow bar represents is that they're immobilised or damaged, and I think that it means that you've reduced their ability to cause damage on you. But I think that if you get close to that feral ghoul missing its legs, it will still take a lunge at you. I don't like the idea that once you've shot its legs off, it just lays there waiting to die.
Yeah.
These are, they're aggressive creatures. They don't have any thinking anymore. They're going to try and lunge for you.
I agree. I hope it's not like that, but I could absolutely see it being like that.
What, when they become docile?
Yeah. So it's sort of like they've got their leg shot off and they just lay on the floor. It was moving when it was on the floor, but it wasn't like crawling around.
Yeah.
It was just sort of moving in one place.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ghouls, like, on top of that, they have a shit ton of ability.
I saw that.
They're, like, climbing out of a second floor window
Yeah.
onto the floor in the game's trailer. It's hard to see over this guy's shoulder. It's fucking grainy as hell, but...
Well, one thing I found really interesting about Fallout 3 was the fact that you go into a metro station. This is one of the things that I disliked about New Vegas. It took out that fear factor. When you go into a metro station in Fallout 3, there's smoke everywhere. It's really dark. You couldn't even see a feral ghoul unless it was moving. It's really, really dark. And you just hear the moans of ghouls, and it terrifies you. And what I'm hoping in this game is that you could go into a metro station, like the Boston Metro.
Yeah.
You can go into it, and something will be crawling on the wall. You're not quite sure what it is, but your trousers are already full.
Yeah. Just wondering what fluid they're full of.
Or if you're American Pass.
There was a bit of that in New Vegas. I can't remember what Vault it was. Was Vault 21 the one with the plants, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was pretty creepy.
Yeah, that was. But there was another one when I went in. I was twitching.
Yeah.
So obviously I had my headphones in. And for those who don't know what twitching is, it's like live streaming the game.
Yeah.
I had my headphones in while I was playing, and the sounds the ghouls made, like their feet patting on the floor.
Yeah.
And I like, opened the door, and they all started like making that weird like primal scream that they make, and I shat myself.
Yeah.
Fallout New Vegas was the poor man's Fallout 3, but still, that I was like,
You're going to get some hate for that.
yeah, well, yeah, probably. But I looked in this one room.
Yeah.
That happened. I killed like 3 or 4 of them, and I was like, yeah, it's time for me to go. I'm going now. This is really fucking freaky.
One thing that concerned me in the trailer, although I'm not too bothered about, is the idea that behemoths are smaller.
Yeah, I don't agree with you.
I'm not too sure, because behemoths, I remember when you first meet me in Fallout 3, they burst out behind that bus when you're in GNR. Absolutely colossal motherfucker. And don't get me wrong, they're still obviously going to be terrifying. They still look like regular behemoths. I'm just upset that they're not as big.
They do. If you ask me, they look different. They look as though they're. I'd say the same about Super Mutants. Super Mutants always look like when the FEV virus has expanded them.
Yep.
They haven't got any more skin, so it's all really stretched out on them, and their faces are all like peeled back and shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like around their lips. When you look at them now, and we'll put in a clip of this or a picture of this later on. You see these Super Mutants, and they look as though they're fitting their skin quite comfortably.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've seen that. And the Behemoth looks the same way, whereas before the Behemoth looked like he'd been Frankenstein and put together.
Well, this is what I mean. I preferred them when they were more like aggressive brutes that just represented the radiation of the wasteland.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea that they're almost like a new race now. Like, we don't want them to be compared. I don't think people want them to be compared to orcs in Skyrim, in Skyrim and other things. We want them to be this aggressive creature.
I thought you said orcs in Lord of the Rings. I was like, it's a massive side difference.
I
I was going to be like, go for Uruks if you're going to go for anything.
For Uruks.
If you're going to make Lord of the Rings reference.
No.
I would not, honestly, I don't think we can talk about how they're going to be in Fallout 4. We have no real evidence for it. They look a lot different. Slightly darker skin, so before they had a very yellow skin. And now
It's still great though.
yeah, kind of. It was very yellow in Fallout 3, and now it looks like they're putting a lot more green into the colour scheme.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Maybe a couple of browns as well. That's kind of what it looks like. You guys see it as well.
Yeah.
I don't know how they look, really. I don't know how I feel about how they look. But we'll get to that when we get to it. The last thing I wanted to cover on combat is how armour can be shot off now.
Yes.
So basically, as you guys can see, like a rocket hits a raider and blows off his shoulder pad.
Yeah.
So what we're thinking there is, as it's all layered, right, all the armour, so you've got obviously your chest piece, your arms, your greaves, everything like that. If you shoot off someone's greaves or render its durability to 0.
Yeah.
A, does the item get destroyed, or is it just no use? And B, does that mean that person now has a weak spot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it's got to be a weak spot.
Well, I think that when you've got the armour on, if you're getting shot at, you'll still take damage. It just minimises the damage. I think that then when the armour breaks, obviously you take full damage. I think when it breaks, it will be in your inventory as a broken item that you can repair. I think that if you look at Fallout 3 when Coving broke, it was, it didn't destroy it for you, you can have it repaired. And I think the reason why they do that is because say if you've got really expensive armour, really good stuff, it's not fair for you to lose it after battle.
But that said, you'd pay the full price of the fucking armour repairing.
That's when if you
if
build
not
it
a bit
and pay
more.
for it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a bit of a fuck you. I think that the idea is it's going to be broken in your inventory and you can repair it. So the only real disadvantage it has is obviously, which is quite fair enough, during battle if it gets broken, you just got to make sure that part of you isn't being shot.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Shoot from your right side sort of thing.
I wonder if that means that damage is going to be higher in this game. Armour's more important.
I wonder if damage is going to be... I don't know if damage will be higher. I don't know what they're going to do. Maybe you do have more health and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's more you're more reliant on armour. You'll see it as we talk about it later on a bit more as well. But damage is now split into physical damage and energy damage.
Yes.
So we're thinking it's primarily going to be robots are susceptible to electric damage.
Yep.
And you yourself are weak to physical damage.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at the UI, and we'll see this later on, armor has both physical damage resistance and electrical damage resistance.
Yeah.
So you need to choose what you're going to wear based on who you're going to fight. It means there's a lot more preparation going into combat.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Moving on to the next topic, we're going on to gameplay. Right, sweet. So the first thing we're going to start off with is character customization. When we're doing these topics, we're just trying to decide what fits in where. We reckon. Yes, I need another drink in a minute as well. We decided we'd go for character customization in here.
Yep.
First thing we want to talk about that is how character customization has no slider.
No, so now it's more like you graft your person's face.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I noticed you made a note of the slider will still be present, you just won't be able to see it. Obviously.
Yeah, it's like behind the... Obviously, everything with games like that, it's got a slider somewhere that you can't see it. Yeah, but it's sort of like in Skyrim, like you'd muck around with these sliders and everything like that. Whereas now, I imagine you just sort of hold A on like a certain part of it and like manipulate it. And move it
I
around
hope
a bit.
it is not simple, but it's easy to use because otherwise you could easily deform your person, very quickly deform them.
Well, you did in Skyrim anyway, didn't you?
Yeah,
you didn't play it with mods, but you end up with like some pink bloke with orange hair and shit like that, and you're running around.
Boy,
yeah,
I've got some so sexy now. It's getting concerning.
Nah, it's not around. Don't know all the butts you're putting in there. Yeah, so there's no sliders when you're doing that, which is interesting as well because it was cool. It makes it more free of how you do it, so it's like flying.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, it's nice to be able to go, I want to make his nose wider, I don't want to make it longer, I don't want to make it more broad, I want to do a specific thing, I want the specific slider for that so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it easier on there. Also in character customization, you've got Codsworth.
Yes.
So as Todd Howard said, there's like 1,000 or more names.
That is very cool.
Yeah, on a list, I've decided, of names that he has, because
Yeah.
I'm normally call all of my characters hairy liver. That's my word for vagina, and I know that that's not going to be in there, right? But I don't want to not use that and use my own name if it's not going to be in there, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I doubt my last name would
Well,
be in there.
even if your name isn't in there, you can always. I presume there's just a way to be called the Soul Survivor or something like that. You know, if you want to be more immersive in the game without having your actual name.
I'd rather use a different name than my own, or hairy liver,
Yeah.
and people say it.
Yeah.
I don't know if...
Well, Harry Lever's not going to be in
Hairy
there.
Liver, that's set and done.
Unless we give Howard a call, maybe.
I don't know, I think he gets enough calls.
Yeah.
If I am calling him, it's to get the Pitbull edition, that's set, that's done. Yeah, I've tried to get my girlfriend to get one off eBay for my birthday.
How many blowjobs would you give him?
What, Todd Howard?
Yeah.
That's an undisclosed amount. Because we have to barter at the time.
600.
Obviously, if I say a number now,
Yeah.
right, I'm obviously not going to start at that number, but he'll know that I'll go up to that number.
Yeah. So start with like 5 or 6 blowjobs. What are you way up from there?
Oh, wait, what? That much? Well,
That's what
they're,
makes
going,
sense.
they're going on eBay for like £330, and I doubt my blowjobs are worth like...
330 blowjobs.
Yeah, there you go, they're not that bad. I wouldn't go that far. But still, moving back.
We're going
on
to take
the
a quick pause so we can test out this blowjob scheme.
Well, you'll get somebody else in that fucking touch
There
you.
you go.
You stay away. Regardless, yeah. So Codsworth knows all these names. I wonder if that spreads to other characters.
Yeah, I think it does. I think that he brought up Codsworth just to highlight it, but I think that, yeah, I think I did read somewhere that every single player in the game, every single character in the game, where they would say your name,
Yeah, so there's no sliders when you're doing that, which is interesting as well because it was cool. It makes it more free of how you do it, so it's like flying.
Yeah.
But on the other side of that, it's nice to be able to go, I want to make his nose wider, I don't want to make it longer, I don't want to make it more broad, I want to do a specific thing, I want the specific slider for that so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes it easier in there. Also in character customization, you've got Codsworth.
Yes.
So as Todd Howard said, there's like 1,000 or more names.
That is very cool.
Yeah, on a list, I've decided, of names that he has, because
Yeah.
I normally call all of my characters hairy liver. That's my word for vagina, and I know that that's not going to be in there, right? But I don't want to not use that and use my own name if it's not going to be in there, you know?
Yeah.
I doubt my last name would
Well,
be in there.
even if your name isn't in there, you can always. I presume there's just a way to be called the Soul Survivor or something like that. You know, if you want to be more immersive in the game without having your actual name.
I'd rather use a different name than my own, or hairy liver,
Yeah.
and people say it.
Yeah.
I don't know if...
Well, Harry Lever's not going to be in
Hairy
there.
liver, that's set and done.
Unless we give Howard a call, maybe.
I don't know, I think he gets enough calls.
Yeah.
If I am calling him, it's to get the Pitbull edition, that's set, that's done. Yeah, I've tried to get my girlfriend to get one off eBay for my birthday.
How many blowjobs would you give him?
What, Todd Howard?
Yeah.
That's an undisclosed amount. Because we have to barter at the time.
600.
Obviously, if I say a number now,
Yeah.
right, I'm obviously not going to start at that number, but he'll know that I'll go up to that number.
Yeah. So start with like 5 or 6 blowjobs. What are you way up from there?
Oh, wait, more than that, mate.
That's
Well,
what
they're going on eBay for like £330, and I doubt my blowjobs are worth like...
330 blowjobs.
Yeah, there you go, they're not that bad. I wouldn't go that far. Moving back.
We're going
on
to take
the
a
topic.
quick pause so we can test out this blowjobs.
Well, you'll get somebody else on that, fucking touch you. You stay away. Regardless, yeah, so Codsworth knows all these names. I wonder if that spreads to other characters.
Yeah, I think it does. I think that he brought up Codsworth just to highlight it, but I think that, yeah, I think I did read somewhere that every single player in the game, every single character in the game where they would say your name, they have recorded those 1,000 for them. It's not just Codsworth, it's not just a gimmick.
What you've got to keep in mind, like saying that. So let's say that Fallout 4 uses, for actual main characters in the story, let's say that Fallout 4 uses 50 voice actors, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got all your NPCs. Let's say that the random NPCs don't say your name, okay? Well, that'd be really cool.
No, they-
Like,
I don't think they would.
if you're going for your set, they're like, oh, Mr. Maddock, you okay, Mr. Maddock? Yeah, I'm fine, mate. Carry on, back to it. Like, being regarded by the peasantry. But even if you've got 50 story characters, and let's say only 50% of them say your name, so
Yeah.
that's 25 people, that's 25,000 lines
Yeah.
that they've got to record.
Yeah.
You know, that's a shit ton of dialogue. If you think the main characters, I think each one, so they've got a male and a female voice,
Yeah.
they only recorded, well, I say only, they recorded just over 13,000 lines.
But they don't need to record the whole line each time they change a name, they just need to record the name and then put it into the sentence.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, well, even then, like, I suppose 1,000 names would only take like...
Well, that's what I mean. They
Half an
get,
hour.
say if they get one cast character in, he comes in and he says all 1,000 names out at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's done. That's like half hour,
Yeah.
1,000 names. Maybe. Yeah, I suppose that would work.
Yeah, I think that I think it'd be good. I think the 1,000 most likely names. I think it's likely that our names will be in there, and you know, I think that a lot of people are excited about this idea. It immerses you further in the game, obviously.
Immersion's a big thing.
It really is.
Yeah, a lot of people are worried that you have a voice protagonist because you lose. Some people think you lose that sense of immersion.
Yeah, I saw that, and for a while I did agree with them, but I'm thinking now that. You know, I mean, I played Mass Effect, where obviously your character talks, and I massively immersed myself in that character. I really got myself thinking, I am Shepard. And, you know, you get yourself behind the character, but what's good about Fallout 4, unlike Mass Effect, is you can create your person's own story. So you can get behind who they're talking, like the way they're talking, you can get behind that persona of them. But because it's still a free-run game, you can still just go around doing whatever you want. You don't even have to do questions, go around just looking for shit. You can still put yourself into the character.
I've got to say, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Even then, like, you don't have to. From my perspective, you get immersed in games, but I wouldn't say I get immersed to the extent where I'm looking, I'm going, this is me, you know?
Oh, I'm really immersive in my games.
Yeah? Where you think that this is you.
I play Battlefield and imagine I'm actually a soldier in the field.
That's you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I love.
I suppose there are, if you're doing it, other people are going to be
I
doing
know
it.
I have brethren out there because there was a mod that I saw for GTA 5 where you could put it so the only thing the mod changes is that you have to fill up your car.
With petrol.
Yeah,
See, I kind of like
that's
that.
awesome immersion right there.
What I think would also be cool is, I think they do it once in the story, like if you shoot someone's gas tank because it's American, or petrol tank if you're English.
In GTA 5 it does that.
Yeah, no, but you could do it once in the story. If you go online, you can spray into someone's petrol tank and it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
They don't run out of petrol after a while.
Yeah, I presume there was problems with that game, that's why.
Yeah,
Problems with doing
it'd be awesome if that
Yeah.
happened. Like you shot it and then you just have to run after them for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know? But the other thing, like, talk about when I was DJ, But remember on like San Andreas, you'd shoot someone's like petrol tank and their car would explode.
Yeah.
That's cool. They missed out as well. I don't even remember how we got to that. So the next week, should move on.
Yep.
Moving on. So the other thing we wanted about is how dialogue isn't locked.
Three-way conversations.
Yeah, exactly. So you can have one of the things that is interesting about that is three-way conversations. So as opposed to having a conversation with one person and finishing that conversation, then turning, or those two people having a conversation, you're only actually talking to one.
Yep.
Each person can say something, and you look to the person who spoke and reply to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is cool, and that's awesome because you're not locked in, which opens up a whole lot of things. So you can do stuff while you're having these conversations.
Yeah.
So as opposed to just being able to talk to two people, you can start off the conversation with a bloke, turn around, start doing a bit of crafting, or interact with your dog or something along those lines, whatever you want to do. Probably even look in your Pip Boy, have a look through your items as you're saying sort of stuff. Be like, say he wants something to do something else. Like, have I got that already? You go on to your things, you have a little bit of a flick through, you see that.
What that also means is that while you're playing the game, it won't be paused anymore. Like in Skyrim, the game wasn't paused when you were talking to someone. Now that is really cool, very immersive, very realistic. The only one thing that really did piss me off in Skyrim with that was, say if there was a bloke I really need to talk to and he was walking away, someone else would come up to me like a courier and go, here's your stuff, by the way, do you want to have a quick chat? And I'm like, get lost and trying to talk to someone else because he's walking away.
Yeah. The other thing was like, if you're running away, I can imagine this happening, like you're running away from like a Raiders or something like that, like super mutants, you see the guy, you start talking to him and then you just get fucked around the head by a super mutant.
You see like a death claw, some bloke goes, do you want a quick chat? No, I don't.
But it doesn't, so the cool thing is I don't think it's going to stop you now. So so when the couriers run up to you in Skyrim, you get stopped and you get locked into that conversational mode, but the game carries on around you. Whereas now I think they'll be like, I've got a package for you, and you're like, yeah, fuck off mate, and just carry on running. Sort of thing. He'll probably carry on running after you until you eventually talk to him.
Oh, good.
But that kind of opens up this whole thing of like, you start talking to him and while he's replying, you turn around and start blasting away some stupid Like, that's awesome. The other thing it opens up is, I don't know why you'd want to do this, but you can have two conversations at once if you want. Two completely separate conversations was obviously
in theory this could happen.
I think Todd Howard did actually say you could do something like that. He said it could only happen a set amount of time, a few times. Not a set amount
there are two characters next to each other you can talk to.
Exactly. If you want to speedrun it, I suppose. Obviously, you are going to get some Fallout 4 speedruns. That's just something that happens, which is quite cool. That's going to happen. But I personally want to do it. As you say, get really immersed into the story. Get right down there and do it that way. The next thing we want to talk about in here is
sexual companion command.
Exactly. As you guys can see up right now, we've got the picture of Dogmeat holding the wrench. Like,
very cool, very good idea they put into it, and it was something they dabbled with in Fallout New Vegas. The idea you could give your person commands, but they were quite simplistic. They also did it again in Skyrim, but again simplistic.
Well, actually, you say that there was I don't think you had it, but if you got the Kinect, because the Kinect was released a little while after Skyrim came out. What you could do is you could program commands. So you could just say to your companion, attack here, loot here. And with loot, you could set a ratio, a weight to value ratio. So obviously, if the guy's holding something which isn't very valuable but weighs a shit ton, he's not going to pick it up. But if he's holding like a diamond, let's say worth 1,000 and it weighs 0.1, it's over that threshold. You know, if you say for every one bit of weight, it's got to be worth 100 coins for you to pick it up. You know, you can do that. If you can do that here, that'd be awesome. I'm not too fussed about the Kinect. Things like that never really bothered me. Cool functionalities, but the Kinect is really bad. I don't know if anybody here plays Xbox One with the Kinect, but you'll be talking to someone and it will just fucking pop up in the middle of a game. I play a lot of Smite, and someone came in and say something to me, and all of a sudden you've got the fucking Xbox menu coming up.
That's very cool.
I get my arse handed to me. Like, absolutely slaughtered because I can't do anything. Saying Xbox stop this thing, I just won't do anything. But so I think Sky did well with it, and I think Fallout 4 was going to take it even further.
I like the idea that you can tell them to go get something. I mean, there could be a situation where you're trying to remain hidden, so you get your dog to go pick up something.
Yeah, exactly. Or were you saying earlier on about how if you're trying to sneak, you can just tell your dog to go and attack someone.
What I'm curious about is if there's an item that is, when it goes red, which means if you take it, it's stealing and someone's going to see you. If there's someone looking at that item and you get Dogmeat to go pick it up, will that person turn hostile to you and Dogmeat, or will they be fine with it? I'd imagine they would put that in, because otherwise you could just get anything you wanted using Dogmeat.
Yeah, they've got to have it so that if you send a companion to go pick something up, then they're going to go for you. Like in real life, if the dog came up and picked something up, you wouldn't turn hostile, but you'd get it back.
I don't know, I'd probably punch a dog in the face.
Never say that. Never say that. There's too many dog lovers on the internet. Not quite as bad as
I am a dog lover.
Yeah, links him. Yeah. The other thing that's
I'm
pretty
a woman lover as well, but I'll punch him.
I don't really know what to say to that. This is why I didn't want to do this with him, but we're locked in. We live near each other.
I love you really well.
I'm not really associated.
No, I have a girlfriend. I've never hit her.
now he's got to clear himself. It's just making it worse. We're going to move swiftly on. Yeah, there's game tapes for the Pip-Boy now.
Yeah, I saw that. That's a nice little thing about it. That's very cool.
What I'm hoping for is achievements. I'm not going to lie. I imagine
there will be an achievement.
There will be an achievement for doing a certain game or a number of games, and I'm not going to lie. I'm going to play those once for the achievement, or play them how many times I need to for the achievement. Yep. And after I've done that, I will never touch them again.
I don't know. I think they'd be good luck. I mean, you can tell they've got some games that remind you of real games. So they've got a game where it looks like Donkey Kong, but it's actually a communist or something, isn't it? Capture the Red.
Yeah, something like that. Which is cool. But I mean, you're playing Fallout 4.
Yeah,
there's a certain amount of people in my life that I would sacrifice to Todd Howard to get Fallout 4 now.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get Fallout 4 and be like, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to play Capture the Communist. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to be like, cool, it's on the Pip-Boy. Sure, and I'll play it for achievements, and if there's no achievements, I'll probably give it a go a couple of times.
Yeah.
I won't let that complete it once, obviously. I've got my little achievement law. But I don't see it being a big thing for me.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, it should be pretty. I mean, contextual companion commands. It's going to be a fun little thing you can do. I mean, you're going to be able to enjoy enjoy sending them to do stuff, call little tasks. And again, it's a nice little thing to add, just like the video games. I think it's a fun little thing you can just do on the side.
Yeah, work it into how you're going to play it.
Yep.
Yeah. The next thing, talking about the Pip-Boy, is the second screen experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
We were talking about that a little bit earlier, and I think that's definitely very cool. I mean, even if you can't get the Pip-Boy edition, unfortunately, then you can always have your phone up on your lap. You're playing the game, whack some more stim packs on while you're playing.
Yeah, I think it does still add that thing of, if you're in the game and you want to look at your Pip-Boy, obviously you can't see what's going on in front of you. It's cooler because it's a slightly more realistic feel. You can still run around while looking at it and picking what to do.
Yeah.
You know, and looking at your phone. I hope it works like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also hope that it's a good response time.
Yep.
So when you hit the command on your phone, it's sent to your console. I imagine they'd have some sort of thing for the computer as well.
Yeah, obviously the game's going to have to be online for you to do this.
Yeah, you'll have to be connected to a Wi-Fi thing. I imagine. I don't know if anybody else has got things that connect to their consoles, but it only works if you're on the same Wi-Fi network.
Okay, that's
so yeah, you'd have to link your phone with your Wi-Fi network and connect that way.
Well, can you imagine if maybe I can imagine I leave my phone around my girlfriend's and I'm playing I'm playing Fallout and all of a sudden my person's in a pink dress.
Yeah, that fucking.
And then I get a text saying "fuck you."
Oh, I remember doing that on. So you send out.
I couldn't get a text. She took my phone.
Facebook message, why not?
Yeah.
We'll link it. I remember you saying pink dress. I remember on Fallout 3, and I was like playing as a woman, and I finally got into Tenpenny Tower. I was like, I'm going to enjoy high life. So what I used to do is I used to rob all of the stores in Fallout 3
had to be done
before I killed everybody.
Yeah.
And then let the ghouls into Tenpenny Tower.
Yeah.
So I was going around robbing everybody. I can't remember the names of the characters. I was robbing the guy who has the clothing shop in Tenpenny Tower.
Oh, yeah, the Asian guy.
Yeah,
yeah.
I saved it. I got caught. Anyway, I don't know. I think I had a quick save on. I was playing on a computer. I had quick saved or anything. So I was locked between the time where I got caught.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? And that was the only place I could start on. Before then, obviously, I don't save over save. I don't know if you guys remember Fallout 3, but if you had 100 saves, it slowed the shit out of your game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm stuck between there and just dying and dying and dying. You end up having to go back 5 levels and just try and do it all again. Just wearing that fucking pink dress because I didn't have any arm on or anything like that to sort of defend myself with it.
Yeah.
Absolute nightmare. Yeah. And then talking about how we can change the game, how we want to play it. You've then got mods, which are a massive thing here, especially for console players. But PC
mods is going to be very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. PC players have always had the ability to do mods with the Steam Workshop and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's what's really kept Bethesda games alive.
Yeah.
Years after.
And it's good to see Bethesda accepting these. I mean, they always have been tolerant of modders. It's good to see them accepting them, opening dialogue with them. And because of that, I think two things are going to come from it. One is that I think that if they're talking to the modding community, perhaps the modding community has recommended things that we can see appear in the game. And I think the other thing we'll see, obviously, is now mods are going to be available on the Xbox One and the PS4, which will be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be huge. You've got to think that Bethesda hasn't got the best history of modders, considering what happened recently. I don't know if you saw, but when they were monetising mods, do you remember this? Did you see the story? I'm going to quote this all wrong. I don't know, so tell me how I'm doing it wrong in the comments and correct everybody else. But Steam decided that modders should start getting money for their mods.
Right.
Okay, which is fair because there are some mods that add a fuck ton.
I've never had to pay for a mod.
No. So yeah, so there was a brief time where that happened.
Yeah.
Steam wanted 50% of the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, of the ones to modder, and then Bethesda wanted like another certain amount.
Yeah.
There was like an uproar because Bethesda asked for too much for the Skyrim mods or whatever,
Right.
and it very, very quickly got disbanded.
Yeah.
It was mainly Gabe Newell, like the director of Steam, who got his face covered.
Well,
in
I don't
shit
think
there.
I don't think they should bring money into mods because it's always been a fun thing people do in their own time. And I think something that people enjoy doing. You don't need to when you bring money into it, you get arguments. And I think that other than that, Bethesda, when money isn't brought into it, Bethesda's always been very tolerant of mods. They've been one, some of the greatest people for the amount of mods you can put on their game.
Yeah, I'd say the only other thing where they've got a bit bad history with them is, I don't know if you remember this, there was a mod, you didn't have Skyrim on the PC, did you?
No.
There was a mod for Skyrim which added like another map,
Okay.
like a huge map, another additional quest line, like another 30 hours of story.
Yeah.
And this is what this guy was basically developing this mod for. He was gunning for a job at Bethesda.
Right.
And so he released this mod and then said to Bethesda, I'd like a job. Obviously, Bethesda said no because they've already got game developers.
Yeah.
They don't want modders constantly making stuff, whatever. They said no. But Bungie were like, we've seen what this guy can do. Fuck yeah, we'll take him.
Yeah.
And Bethesda are a bit like, it's kind of a shame.
Did they get pissy?
They didn't get pissy, but it's kind of, I don't think they released anything after that, but it's kind of like, this guy released this thing
Yeah.
to play at Bethesda, and Bethesda were like, we're not having a modder.
Well, it's understandable because it's not so much that they have a modder. So you're right, they've got a full staff of game designers, and the issue is that they've got they can't keep hiring people because then they're going to give out the idea that if you make an amazing mod, we will hire you.
Yeah.
And this is, this is the issue where a unique situation works fine. When you get a lot of people, it becomes a problem. I mean, Bethesda, when they agreed that the bloke could pay for his game, the Pitbull edition, with all the bottle caps,
yeah.
they had to specify it because this was the first guy that did it. He gets it. It's because otherwise you get loads of people running up at the Bethesda headquarters with bottle caps.
Yeah, did you do that thing as well? Where as soon as you saw that, you're like, "Fuck! I wish I thought of that."
Yeah. Honestly, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
frustration, man. Honestly,
the guy been saving up those bottle caps for years, though.
You know that there's some bloke who was just like, right, counting all my bottle caps now. Time to do it. Oh fuck!
I don't know if
saw that someone else had already done it.
I don't know if you saw. There's another channel called Game Theory. He did a video on how much that would actually be worth in like Fallout money.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, and he worked it out based on in Fallout New Vegas as an old money DLC.
Yeah.
I appreciate that a lot of us don't count New Vegas as canon sort of thing, like in line with
I played
Fallout.
it. I played it.
Yeah. But then he looked at the price for gold in there.
Yeah.
He worked out the weight of the gold and then ran it. He worked out the year that it was set was like 1968,
Yeah.
based on the chart songs. And he worked out that if it was like real, the guy would have paid nearly $1 million for it.
Yeah.
And the way it was all worked out, it's quite interesting.
I did a trick so I could get all of that gold as well.
Yeah, I remember you saying something
Yeah,
about
I got all the gold. It was awesome.
the thing is, it's hard when you've got really valuable items. They're hard to sell because traders only have like a certain amount of
The
money.
worst thing is when for a while when you're finding valuable stuff, you can swap out when you find a valuable thing and you've already got full inventory. You can swap out something useless for something like valuable. But if you're out there for a long time, you end up with all valuable stuff, and you have to have a debate with yourself. What am I going to get rid of at this point? It's very frustrating.
Exactly. You're going to end up getting rid of shit.
Yep.
Yeah. The next thing that we really want to talk about is, you guys have probably seen this in here, but airships.
Yeah, the fast travel idea.
Yeah. So airships are cool. We're wondering if this is going to change how fast travel works. There's a lot of theories.
I don't think the fast travel will be based around the airships. I think it's going to be based around vertibirds. You've seen in the game that you can throw down a flare, and it brings over a vertibird. That means that vertibirds aren't exclusive to the storyline. It means that you can use them casually. Now, if you were using them casually, the only time that would really be useful, because you can see them in the storyline going in a straight direction, heading somewhere, its main use would be to travel, which means, why have fast travel? Well, yeah, why have them if there is fast travel? I'm thinking they got rid of fast travel, which is fair enough, because everyone likes
Have they got
journey.
rid of fast travel?
I think they have.
I think the thing with the airships is, if they have got rid of fast travel, it's going to be, I don't know, I might be on my own in this. If anybody ever played World of Warcraft?
No.
Yeah, probably on my own. So
I don't have an issue with the game.
you used to get zeppelins that would travel from designated points. So
Led?
No, not Led Zeppelin. Great band, bad reference. Yeah, so you'd have like point A and point B. That was it, nothing else, and you could only travel between them.
Yeah.
So once you get from point A to point B, you're on your own in moving about.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'll do that with zeppelins, because
So like fast transport, but still not fast travelling from your Pip-Boy.
yeah, which is cool.
I can get behind it.
They can have things like shops on there and stuff like that, which would be cool. But if they get rid of fast travel, one thing that we're going to want to be thinking about is how big is this map actually going to be?
Yeah.
Todd Howard came out and saying that it will be the same size as Skyrim.
Yep.
But if it was bigger than Skyrim, I would probably still say it's going to be the same size as Skyrim.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to like show your hand too early.
Best thing to do is to be pessimistic, because then you're going to be surprised with the good things that come about.
Yeah. So if he says it's like twice as big as Skyrim, people are going to think it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
I imagine it is probably bigger than Skyrim's map. Fingers crossed. And that way, I don't know how they'll work fast travel into it. Because if it's a huge map and you've only got this thing with the Zeppelins, maybe it's a mix between Zeppelins and vertibirds. Though I think maybe the vertibird thing might be, possibly, if you're going to do a quest for, so say if you go down the Brotherhood of Steel quest line, which we'll talk about a bit more in a bit. Yeah. You can do that with the Brotherhood of Steel, and they come in as an attack team with you.
Yep.
Yeah, so, which would be awesome. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but for Dead Rising 3, the reason why it wasn't released on the Xbox is because they couldn't have so many people on the screen at once. Yep. They couldn't have too many people. So they only did it on the one, because you had like 20,000 zombies on the screen at once. Which would be cool if you had the same sort of thing. You have, like, large battles where you're the Brotherhood of Steel.
I really like the idea of a large battle.
Yeah, exactly. You come in a fucking vertibird.
Well, you see that you can get a minigun on the side of that vertibird. That's very cool. I reckon that while you're in the vertibird, you can tell it to stop or to tell it to circle a target.
Yeah, that'd
be very cool. So you can bring in some proper gunship support. You know.
Yeah, exactly. That kind of utility.
I like the idea that if you get further into the game, there could be an area where there's raiders, and you come in your vertibird. You've got a companion with you, maybe some Brotherhood of Steel. You got your dog with you. You know, you circle around the area, gunning them down, then you land, you go in, kill everyone.
Yeah, secure it out.
Take it, like a proper, like an attack from the sky.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, talking about the combat utilities of that, one thing they've added in gameplay is sprinting, which they haven't had in any Fallouts before. We'll talk about it a bit more in skills, but it uses your action points up
for running,
basically the standard thing.
Yeah.
Which means if you sprint into something. And the picture we've got for the point next, something I've just noticed on it, there's an airport there. If you look,
I've just seen that.
Yeah. Well, we have noticed. We notice things as we go through. I don't know whether that means a fast travel station.
It might not mean an airport. It might mean where there's a ship or some form of transportation.
I'm just studying this now. I don't see if they could remove fast travel completely. I do think it would be like, as you're saying, you can move to certain areas, A to B.
No, I agree with that as well. I just don't agree with the idea that it's for your Pip-Boy anymore.
Yeah.
Which I don't have an issue with, to be honest.
Yeah, I kind of like that as well. I mean, Todd Howard has always said that the thing with the Bethesda game is that the reason why they haven't had vehicles is that everything is really chock-a-block.
Yeah, there's something everywhere.
We have to explain that. Yeah. So
chock-a-block means busy.
Yeah, busy. So
for our American friends out there,
or from anywhere you are, an English idiom there. But you can't go 100 feet without seeing something, without finding something new to explore.
I mean, it's not like GTA where there's big open spans of desert. There's nothing there. It's going to be very jam-packed. There's going to be. That's the great thing about Fallout Bethesda. If there's something that looks like it's been built, or it's not just random land, you know there's something there useful. You know, if you find a house, there's something in there.
Yeah. So obviously, what we came with this picture to talk about was this is the glowing sea. If you guys look at it now,
awesome thing they've put.
Yeah, you see like a rad scorpion jumping out the ground at the same time, which is again awesome. The idea is this is sort of like where the nuke was dropped.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a massively irradiated area.
It's very Fallout 3 looking.
Yes. If you look at his rads say less than one.
Which is just from being in the area.
What you've got to keep in mind there is that this means that rads are greatly reduced in the game.
Yep.
Right? Greatly reduced. But he's also probably got some kind of armour.
Yep.
Which reduces he's probably got a very high rad resistance armour on.
Yep.
Which reduces the amounts that he can take in. So it is so far less than 0, but they can't have it at 0.
Yep.
Because it doesn't minus the rad. So say if you've got like 10 rad resistance and there's 10 rads in the area, it doesn't minus 10.
Yep.
It reduces it by a certain factor, so it can never actually reach 0.
Yep.
Just against like some weird maths at it. But I imagine that's how it works, which is also very interesting.
Yep.
The other thing about the glowing sea is it's a weather biome in itself. I mean, you know a bit more than I do.
Well, the weather biome?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because the idea is... I mean, first of all, it's great that they've done the glowing sea, because you've got the trees all split in like aimed at an angle, which is, if you've ever seen imagery of where a nuclear bomb's been dropped during a test, that's what the trees look like afterwards. Very, very cool. You can see how the blast has gone. It's wicked. And I think that one of the great things about the weather system that they're including is the idea that there's going to be storms that develop in the glowing sea, and these storms will give off radioactive lightning, it will be proper heavy rain, and it will move across the map, which means that while you're playing, somewhere else in the map there could be a storm going on. I mean, your companion could be there, they could get hit by radiation, they could die. And it's interesting to know that they're putting that much care into it, that there's storms moving across the map. You know, you could be in a raider town, You could be in the middle of fighting, or maybe just finished up fighting, and you see this storm in the distance heading your way. At that point, you know to get indoors. It's a very cool idea. The actual fear that it adds into the game. So the thing I love about survival games like Fallout is that you have this, paranoia about you. You have this fear, your uncertainty.
Yeah, and it adds another factor to it.
Yes, exactly.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we've got on gameplay, which is probably I don't know if it's suited for gameplay or not, but the season pass is coming out recently,
which they don't even know. Bethesda don't know what they're going to put into it.
But what they've said that it's going to be $30.
Yeah.
When it does come out, not that that means much to us English
people. It'll probably be £30 because they won't do the conversion thing.
Which is silly. I'm going to have a little bit of a rant about this.
Well, $30 is like £5.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Something like that.
I think it would actually be about £20 because if you think of the conversion rate, it's like, because we're going to talk about finance now, obviously. That's part of the Fallout podcast. It's like 1.5 is the way it works. So yeah, it'd be about £20 for us, but it'll probably be 30.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's going to be, but it allows you access to all Bethesda content, the DLCs. And if you think of the value of that, I mean, there were 4 or 5 DLCs for Fallout 3?
There was, 5.
5, that's a shit ton. If you think of Destiny, which has 3 so far, each one of them is, to us, £20. I don't know what they are to you guys. £20 is a fuck ton for a DLC.
And they're pretty rubbish as well, from what I hear.
Yeah, I'm not going to go back to rate Destiny. Don't mind. It's one of those things. I put a fuck ton of hours in it, and yet I don't like that game.
Yep.
And I keep playing it. It's really weird.
It's addictive, but not in a good way.
Yeah, I've never played a game that I don't like so much.
Wow.
Which is in a weird way a compliment.
Yep.
You know, they've kept me playing. It's meant to be a 10-year franchise, so if in 10 years I'm saying the same thing, they've done well.
Yeah.
You know, we put it down to that. But $30 for theoretically 5 DLC packs.
It's not. Well, what concerns me? Well, I mean, if you look at Skyrim, they only came out with 3 DLCs, and one of them wasn't with any storyline. It just allowed you to adopt a child and build a house. Don't get me wrong, they're cool things, but I wasn't happy with the amount I paid for it. But with Fallout, you're right. I think they owe it to the fans to bring out some really good DLC. They have a history of bringing out good DLC. Other than when they haven't brought out enough, but the quality of the DLC is always good, it's always acceptable. I think what they're going to do here then is, even though they don't know what they're going to do yet, they're probably going to wait until they look at some fan reviews of Fallout, see what sort of things the fans want, stuff like that, look at how the modding community is going, stuff like that will influence what kind of DLC they're going to make, and I think it's going to be quite fun. So I might pay for it. I think I probably will.
I will. I mean, don't get me wrong, if the way you've got to look at it now is I'm going to do this in dollars because those are the amounts of money that we know.
Yeah. Okay.
But if somebody came up to me and said, "So you're paying $90 for Fallout 4 on its own?"
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd pay that. Absolutely. I'm a massive Fallout 4 fan.
I'd
pay $90 for the base.
After seeing the trailer, me and my mate Matt both agreed that we would throw any amount of money. Probably like the Fry meme. We just take my money.
Yeah.
I would literally, if they asked for £100 and a blowy and a flamingo, I would get it all sorted.
Yeah, you find that flamingo somewhere.
Yeah.
Poach.
Yeah.
But regardless, absolutely. I'm not fussed about paying that extra money at all. And if you ask me, I go off the ratio of I want to spend £1 for every hour I have in my game.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So if Fallout 4 is £60, I'm going to get a massive conversion rate on that.
Yeah.
Absolutely massive conversion rate on that. If the DLC is anywhere near that, if I get anywhere near 30 hours on like 3 DLCs, I'm happy as Larry.
Yep.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Anyway, moving on to the next thing, skills. Go for best. What's this? I'll just give it a couple of seconds just so we get to it. Okay, so moving on to skills.
Do some skilling.
So the first thing that we start with on skills is we're looking at the specials.
Yes, we are, and they've made a few changes, some good ones.
Yeah, I completely agree. So if you look at the specials from the old game, they were pretty much things that base characteristics which only really influenced your minor skills.
Yes.
They've completely revamped that system. But we're going to start off just by looking at the specials themselves. So Bethesda started a new mini-series, I don't know if you've seen it, but the Vault-Tec Survival Guide.
No, I haven't.
I think you might have. It's got the cartoon. And
I have. I've been meaning to watch the first one, the strength one.
Yeah, and they talk about strength, is the first thing they talk about, which is the damage of all your melee attacks, everything like that.
Yeah.
So as opposed to having the lower skill, where you'd have like unarmed and melee, I now think that strength, not only does it influence your carry weight, and certain weapons have strength requirements, actually increases the damage of your unarmed and melee combat right off the bat. I think that's how that one's going to work. Other than that, there aren't a huge amount of changes to strength.
Right, perception, that's an interesting one. The idea of a sixth sense and affects weaponry accuracy in VATS. So that's an interesting idea. I think that by the sixth sense, it's going to give you, I think maybe if you have a very high perception, it makes it easier to hear enemies, makes it easier to, in fact, perhaps, they're talking about sixth sense, so it could be an entirely new sense. by that, maybe, just possibly, they mean you could see enemies through walls. You know, as in an outline, a red smudge. They've done that in games before. Not Bethesda, as in it's been done in games before quite well.
Yeah, maybe.
What do you think they mean by Sixth Sense?
I've no fucking idea. If you look around, like on the picture on there, I'm sure you guys have seen it. If you slow it down, I did try to see if there's a Sixth Sense shown. It gives you different senses around him. They don't actually even have taste on there. They will show you 4 senses.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the 6th one is.
Yeah.
If it could be something to do with that, I mean, maybe it's in that you can see through walls, see enemies through walls.
That's a very good
But
idea.
then you get to that thing, I don't know if you did that walking through the wasteland, as soon as you saw something on your compass, an enemy, you're just running along fucking tapping that,
Yeah.
so you see it before it sees you.
Yeah.
Because I always had shit perception anyway.
Yeah, well, if I was scared walking down a metro station, I'd always just tap that.
If it's hiding in the dark or hiding in the
Yeah.
smoke or something on the sides.
The Sixth Sense is, it's an interesting idea. It could be that you have it could be that you have the ability to detect enemies if you do something, like there's a detect ability, and this improves your detectability.
Yeah, definitely a possibility.
Yep.
The next thing we're looking at is endurance. We've mentioned this already a little bit.
Classic one, the amount of AP.
Yeah, the amount of action points that you have.
Yep.
And also, it affects how quickly your health and your action points drain.
Yep.
So your action points are now draining through sprinting, which is an entirely new dynamic.
Yep.
AP is like dual purpose, really. It also is your stamina at the same time. So as you're sprinting, that goes down. What else uses your action points is when you're in the power armor, you have a jetpack. As you use the jetpack, your action points go down from that.
Which means that if you have very high endurance, you're going to be able to boss out your jetpack quite a good amount.
So if you have a low amount of endurance, your jetpack is basically a booster. So to quickly jump over things or to avoid bullets and stuff like that. If you've got high endurance, maybe you can just climb the fucking building with it.
Yeah.
You know, it does go down really quickly in the video, but we don't know what endurance he has. If he's using this character where it's only got 2, then that would kind of make sense.
Yeah.
You know. Then you've got charisma.
Charisma's an interesting one. It's similar to what they did in Fallout 3. It's linked to dialogue, whereas before, however, it was your speech skill. What I think is interesting is that, if you've got higher charisma, it means you're going to be able to win over people, which is going to be important. I'd say, there's quests where there's an option to do something. If you're pretty crap at the game, there's an easy option.
Yeah, get around to killing everybody sort of thing.
Yeah, or there's just an option where you have to give someone money for something. The charisma introduces the ability that you can talk your way out of things, that you can convince people to do stuff. Very similar to Bethesda games in the past.
And the other thing it mentions here is it affects your bartering. So what you're looking at is now it would appear, as opposed to having a speech and a barter skill, they both just come under charisma.
Yeah.
You know, they've gotten rid of that whole minor levels. So rather than putting points into charisma or putting points into speech and barter, now it's just one thing. You put it up, and that helps you after that.
Yeah.
The next thing is intelligence. So one other thing it says it affects your amount of your overall mental acuity, with basically how smart you are.
Yep.
What you've got on top of that is it affects the number of experience points earned.
Now that's very important. It's going to make people want to put their intelligence up very high, because the quicker you put it up, the higher you have it, the quicker you're going to level up, the quicker you're going to get those perks.
Yeah, the other in the old games it used to be the higher your intelligence, the more of the points you had to put into those minor skills, which is what I'm.
I can't see myself having my intelligence lower than 5.
I completely agree. It's also useful a lot in dialogue,
Yeah.
but whether the experience points means monsters killed
Yeah.
or experiencing it from a quest or something, we don't know. It's not specific on there. The next thing in the line is agility.
Agility's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it affects specifically the amount of VATs that you have.
Yeah.
So while endurance is how quickly they drain, it's the amount. So you've got 2 different things, and it also downs your ability to sneak. So it looks as though sneak is gotten rid of as a skill and it's tied into agility.
See, I don't think I'll use agility that much. I mean, the sneak thing, to be fair, I probably will put it up a bit for the sneak, but I'm not too bothered about sprinting. We've all played Fallout 3 without any sprinting. It's doable. VATs a great, but I purposely sometimes ignore VATs because I like the feel of combat. I'll have it, 3, maybe 4, but if there's other, I could sacrifice points from agility to put it to others. I'd be happy with that.
If you ask me, it's one of those things where you can't play Fallout in one playthrough. You just can't do it. So I'll probably start off having heady luck, intelligence, a bit of strength, albeit I don't normally focus on strength too much. Probably some endurance, because that sounds quite interesting now. But other than that, everything will just sort of be middle, and then I'll probably do a second one where I'm going to put a lot in agility, charisma, perception, have like a sneaky sniper sort of thing. That's what I reckon I'll probably end up doing. And the next thing that we're moving on to is luck. So the thing that's changed here with luck is it affects your recharge rate of critical hits. That's a completely new feature, obviously. But what they have changed is it increases your chances of finding better items.
Yeah, that's something that they also had in Fallout Shelter. Really, really useful as well, and it's It's definitely worthwhile having because you want, especially at the start, it's going to be useful. Same as intelligence, you're going to be able to get money quickly. I mean, if you have luck and intelligence combined, you're going to be looking at getting wealthy and good perks very quickly. They're going to be two important ones.
Yeah, I completely agree. A lot of people sort of leave luck out of the whole equation.
I used to do that as well. I used to put my luck very high.
I used to have it hard in Vegas, all the gambling.
Really?
Yeah. Get kicked out of the casinos in like the first
I didn't
half
realise
an hour of
that
Vegas.
gambling until after I was done with Fallout New Vegas.
Mate, you play blackjack. Like, if you've got 10 luck, if you lose, it's rare.
I used to do the scumbag thing where you would pause it. Where you would save it and then do the bet, and if you sucked, you'd load back into it. Yeah.
I just keep them going. I fucking love that thing. Don't mean in real life, I can never stop gambling.
Yeah.
One of those things. So those are special skills. They have changed quite a bit. It looks like they're now sort of fitting into this different model of you don't have these minor skills and these affect certain other perks that you have.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottom of this picture here, you've got Y for Perkshire, is what it's telling us. I don't know, in the special video that's shown, to show you strength, he has like the Vault Dweller Survival Guide, like this big pamphlet, and it shows a Fallout Shelter-esque sort of thing. It's special along the top.
Okay.
And underneath all the special skills, you have all the different perks, which will have things like, which we can talk about in a second, local leader, gun nut, hacker, science, those kinds of things. Yeah. So moving on to those perks. The perks that we know about, we start with local leader.
Yeah.
So you can see this in Rebuild. Here it's saying that you require local leader rank 2 to build something or other. I can't quite tell what that is.
It's not going to be incredibly easy to just build everything. It's going to take time. It's going to take hard work on your behalf as well as skills at managing your establishment.
Yes. So whether you get that skill up by putting points into it per level, or you buy the skill and then you level it up that way.
I don't think you'll buy the skill. I think what will happen is that through managing your camp or through inquests, convincing people to do certain stuff, leading people in certain ways, I think it will level up your local leader.
And it's possible that the higher your charisma is, the faster it levels up.
Yes.
Yeah? Or maybe it'll be your intelligence.
I think charisma would affect local leader.
Yeah, absolutely. And then maybe it's if you've got higher charisma, it enables you to level up faster, and then intelligence adds stuff onto that.
Yeah.
But I like the way that you level up, and or the higher your charisma you have, the more charisma perks you have access to.
Yeah.
And you level them up by using them.
Yeah.
A sort of blend, as I said, between Fallout 3 and Skyrim.
Yeah.
So in Skyrim you level your perks up obviously by using them, and you buy things through doing that.
Yeah.
And in Skyrim you just do it as you level. A nice mix between the two. The next one that we're going to look at is Gun Nut.
Now, gun nut obviously is going to be attributed to what sort of weapons you can produce, how good they are, stuff like that.
Yeah. If you think of Fallout 3, Gun Nut just affected what kind of sort of the strength of the weapons you could make and how well you could repair them.
Yeah.
Like stuff along those lines. Whereas now it's completely required to create guns.
Yeah.
When you're making mods and stuff like that. Anything that does physical damage requires a Gun Nut perk of a certain rank.
Yeah.
The highest one that we saw was rank 4. I think it's for like a recoil compensating barrel.
Yeah.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
You guys can have a look at that if you see the video. They speed it the fuck up, so getting a screenshot of it was a fucking
You've got to
nightmare.
smash that space bar.
Yeah, absolutely, just to get it in there.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next one we look on, which is
one of the coolest things in my opinion.
Hacking. So hacking is now a completely separate perk from science.
Yeah.
Which is good. Because science has another use for, which we'll go on to in a minute. So obviously, I imagine it's in the same way. If you remember with science, there'd be different levels. So 25 would be very easy.
Yeah.
So 25 would be easy. 50 would be medium. 75 hard.
Yeah.
100 very hard. So I imagine there's probably 4 ranks of hacker.
You reckon there's going to be 4?
Or possibly 5.
I think it's going to be out of 10, to be honest.
Well, but then you've got locks rated on machines from 1 to 10.
Yeah.
I reckon it's going to be 5. I
don't think the locks will be rated 1 to 10. I think there'll be a lock that you can do immediately. There'll be a lock at 3, 5, 7, 10, something like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it kind of puts you away from putting in points. So say if you're on 1 and the next one's 3, you're like, I don't know if I can get 2. You know? It puts you off of doing it.
No, you're right.
I do think it'll be 1 to 5. You could be right. I mean, if you think of 3, you couldn't get 25 points per level, so you couldn't just instantly go up to the next level.
So these skills, do you think they're going to be skills that you improve on through doing, or do you think they're going to be perks that you upgrade?
I want them to be improved on by doing.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Similar to Skyrim, how you'd improve a skill through doing it. Yep.
I don't think they'll do that.
You don't think they'll do that? You think it'll be perks?
Because if you remember Skyrim, the way Skyrim worked with lockpicking is if you had a master lock, even if you were level 1 lockpicking, you could still attempt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you've got ranks. That doesn't fit in with that very well, does it? It says required rank 1. You guys can see that from the picture.
You need rank to do that.
You need rank 1 to do that.
Yeah.
So, as a result, I don't think you'll level it up by doing it. I don't know why. It just differs from that. But I really wish that it is. I hope it is like that. I just don't necessarily see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What we've got after that is we've got science. Oh no, yeah. So on science, what you've got is the same thing as gunner.
Yeah.
But with electric weapons, so weapons that do energy damage.
Yes, I think that it's going to be. I mean, it's going to be an interesting thing, science. Because I mean, I was never a big fan of energy weapons, but it's interesting that if you do like energy weapons, you can go down that line with science. You don't have to pay much attention to gunner. It means that energy weapons, if they're your thing, you can focus directly on those.
I think while you're saying that, if we go back to what we're saying in the combat, there are two main types of damage now. You've got physical damage and electric energy damage. Some enemies just aren't going to give a fuck about physical damage.
No.
That's what I'm thinking. It's the same way in your armour, like you've got the two different ranks. I imagine all the enemies have a similar thing.
Well, in Fallout 3, energy weapons were particularly damaging against machines. I think that's going to be the case again in this one.
Yeah, something similar to that, definitely.
Yeah.
Moving on to the next section, we've got crafting. So as you guys can see on the screen right now, as was very sort of impressive when Todd Howard unveiled it.
I think this is a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got the long scope there. We've taken the picture right out of the E3 conference, obviously.
Hoarding is going to become massive.
Yeah. So for the long scope, you need an adhesive, you need glass, you need screws, and you need steel. And as you guys can see from below, there are different items that you get each one of those things from. Now, not only does that mean that you're picking up junk, right? A lot of junk to take home to do shit with.
Yep.
You're picking up a fuck ton of junk.
Yep.
So if you look at, like, screws and steel are a great example of this.
Yep.
You've got a typewriter there for screws. You know,
Yep.
it's like that thing is a heavy piece of shit.
Yep.
But screws are going to be important. I mean, screws are in everything if you think about it. You are going to have so many fucking typewriters. It's going to be unbelievable. Todd Howard was talking about in Fallout 3 they reference an electric rocking horse.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they said about how many screws are in it.
Yeah. Now it's got like a fuck ton
Giddy
of
up,
screws.
buttercup.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
Giddy up, buttercup.
Yeah. So you see one of those things. You're like, I'm hauling this motherfucker back. Yeah. You have that. And the
I
same.
think you can take it apart there and then. I don't think you haul it back.
Yeah. You could well be right.
Yep. Same as cars. I think you'll be able to extract it. You're not going to see a bloke dragging a car back, are you?
Yeah, so that's actually something else that I wanted to talk about. It doesn't specifically say that you can dismantle vehicles, but I wonder, there are so many vehicles strewn across the wasteland. It would make sense if you could get certain things from them. Like, you could dismantle them, like in the same way you can dismantle buildings and rebuild.
Yep.
We'll cover that later.
What I like about this idea is that you can have, in your settlement, say if you want your guards to have better weaponry, you can think, right, I'm going to get them a proper good assault rifle, I'm going to upgrade this. So you go into where you have a lot of, like in your own room or something, you'll have a lot of chests that will have stuff in them. You open it and you can have a chest full, you can have a chest full of alarm clocks, a chest full of duct tape, and then you just pull it out. The idea that you can hoard and organise your stock, I really like that.
This is Fallout, not Minecraft. So on the chest, it can be like a tiny drawer that's full of a fuck ton of stuff that just doesn't logically fit in there.
Well, I was quite organised when I used to play Fallout 3. You'd always get those people that would have a drawer just filled with all their stuff, and every time they wanted something, they'd have to search through the colossus of stuff.
I had a crap drawer in Skyrim and
Fallout.
Fallout. Yeah, and you'd like go in there and you'd accidentally be like, oh, and I've got one of those things in. You've got it was like X to pick up all.
Yeah.
And you'd start playing the game after a while and you'd hit X and you'd have picked up all of this shit and you're like, oh, what have I done?
Yeah.
You go through it and put it all back
I've
in.
got so much stuff.
It was a fucking nightmare. Absolutely. Yeah, the other thing interesting is if you see steel there. So if steel's a part for making things, there's just going to be so many things in the environment that have steel in them. Same with screws, glass and adhesive, a little bit less. So if steel's a part for making things, there's just going to be so many things in the environment that have steel in them. Same with screws, glass and adhesive, a little bit less.
Yep.
But your sheer amount of things you're going to be looking out for now, rather than just looking past junk, you're going to see like a typewriter on the side, like, I want a bit of that for the screws, or you see a fucking tin can, you're like, it's got steel in it.
Yep.
You know, it really brings this. It makes you a lot more scavenger,
Yep.
which I like about the game. The next thing that we've got on map crafting is obviously the armour. If you look at the label in the armour when you're showing it, it's called the T60.
Yep.
So if you think back to Fallout 3,
Yep.
it was a T51B.
You can still get the T51B. When they cycle through the armour, there are all the armours that have been in it.
Yeah, so I was thinking maybe,
Yeah.
you correct me if I'm wrong, but the T51B was something you could wear,
Yep.
less vehicle-y.
Yep.
Is it still vehicle-y, the T51B?
No, I believe the T51B was the big heavyset one. There was two main power armours. There was the one that you got, obviously, the one that you had originally, which was, I think, the T31, something like that. And then there was the mask that this guy's wearing. And then there's the bigger one, which you got from doing the DLC. I can't remember which DLC it was now. But you get the much bigger armour. That was the T51 power armour.
Yeah. Obviously, the user interface down on the left there is really interesting. We'll go into that a bit more in a bit in UI and HUD. You're taking a to hear about that.
Yeah.
What we're going to talk about here is how the armour is layered. So you've got different pieces for it. So you've got your chest, your legs, your arms, and your head. So all of them can have different modifications.
Yeah.
So they've all got different resistances.
You can also get ones that have got like flames on the front of the armour
Yeah,
as well. That's
exactly.
very, very cool.
Yeah. So whether that means that if you've got like a really high physical resistance on your chest but low energy, and really high energy on your legs
Yeah.
and low physical, does that mean if you get shot in the legs with an energy weapon, it doesn't do much damage? But you get shot in the chest with you see what I mean? Different parts of you have different resistances. Absolutely something to think about. I imagine they would.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the hell? Or it might be a case of just an overall thing.
It's possible that each part of armour also has things that you can improve that are better and worse that other pieces of armour don't. So maybe the right arm has better firearm ability or assists in that, whereas the helmet is better for breathing, the chest is better for taking in damage. We don't know, but it could be interesting.
Yeah, lots of different things like that. The other thing that you've got to look at is custom weapons.
Yep.
So they're a huge thing in this game.
Yeah.
What you're looking at is Todd Howard said that you've got 50 base weapons and 700 mods.
That is a hell of a lot of modification.
I assume that doesn't mean 700 for each weapon.
No.
Yeah, but it averages out to 14 different mods per weapon.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I imagine you've got to think like on melee weapons there's not going to be that many, but whereas on there might be actually. If you looked at the thing, there was a lot of them.
There was a lot of options.
Yeah.
I think on firearms as well. But I think what you're forgetting is that there could actually be a lot of. There could be, say, 50 mods for each gun, but some of those mods are the same for multiple guns.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
You could have, for example, a muzzle brake. You could have it for 6 different rifles. You know, it's
and it only counts 1 out of 700.
That would probably be the best way to do it. Yeah. So, say for example, if you pick up a scope, that isn't a scope exclusive to a weapon. That is a scope that you can use on any weapon.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yep.
Do you think you make the scope itself, or do you think you make the scope for the gun? I suppose it would be the scope itself.
The scope itself.
If you've got modification, then it's hard to do things like that. Yeah, and then the other thing we talked about, obviously the mods require gun nut and sides, as we previously talked about. So you've got to pick which one of those you want to actually level up. The other thing that we want to talk about is how when the armour gets blown off, as you can see in the picture, we've got like the Brotherhood Initiate here getting hit by a rocket and his shoulder flying off.
It's awesome.
Yeah. As you said before, does that mean that there's a weak spot underneath it? And in addition to that, does that mean that once that bit of armour is like done, you have to take that and individually repair it?
We were talking about this earlier, and what I think is that what's going to happen is that when your armour gets hit, it's going to break off a piece, and I don't think that it's going to be destroyed. I think it's going to be in your inventory as a damaged item that you can repair. Otherwise, it'd just be, you'd lose a really expensive piece of kit very quickly. But at the end of the day, I think that it's going to be cool because if you're fighting an enemy or if you've got to worry about the parts that have broken off, they're exposed, they're taking damage, which makes me think that you take more damage in this game if you haven't got armour. Armour is now more important.
Yeah, absolutely essential.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and we're going to move on from there.
Now moving on to story,
which is a huge aspect. You guys have read through, we covered it massively.
It is. I've done a lot of speculation on this, which is on the website, and I think that for starters, it's absolutely fantastic that they've done Boston. I don't know if people have seen the picture, but they've got a picture of.
We've got it up now.
Yeah, we've got it up now. So it's a long timeline picture. It's got starting off with the Minutemen in the American Revolution in I should probably fucking know this.
1800 and something.
No, it wasn't 1800. No, it was 1776, 1777.
Treat me like I'm a fault there. It's alright. Only 40 years out.
It was in the 1770s, and also it shows that, and then it shows Americans fighting in World War II, and then it shows the what they call the men in power armor, like power armor, US soldiers And it shows obviously the 3 different flags because, as we know in American history in Fallout, America becomes more tyrannical and it starts putting its states into like confederacies.
Yeah.
Like so smaller, less states but they're bigger. And really interesting picture because it's talking about fighting freedom for 200 or 300 years. I can't remember.
300, yeah.
Yeah. And what's really interesting about it is that I think that this is a genuine expression of what we can look for in the Fallout story. I've written a whole bit about this. I've done a lot of research for it, and I have to say I think this is what's going to happen. You're going to have, especially because it's Boston, there is going to be, and Bethesda are very good at tying the past that we know about of cities into their games in the future. And I think what you're going to see in this game, you're going to be seeing the past compared to now with the fact of freedom. I think it's going to very much so, more so than any other Fallout game, boast freedom. We know that they're obsessed with using that word in the Fallout universe because it's a tyrannical American government saying that everything has to be done for freedom. This is what's going to happen. It's going to tie the past where the Americans fought for freedom over the British. You know,
it's a bit of bad blood there. We're not
bit,
going to go into
bit of bad blood there.
We discussed it before we do this as a rule. We're not going to slander.
Yeah, we let you win.
Yeah, we're not going to burn the White House. We're not going to do it again. So carry on. Carry on topic again.
Yeah, and so what I think they're going to tie to the future, and this will also tie into Fallout 3. If anyone remembers from playing Fallout 3, you have to, when you're in Redwood City, there's the replicated man quest. You have to help the android get free from the Institute. The Institute, which are almost guaranteed to have a presence in Boston.
I say almost guaranteed. It's certain.
It's pretty
going
much
to
guaranteed.
Yeah.
MIT, it's going to happen. So what I think is going to happen is I personally think there's going to be 2 main quest lines here, right? There's going to be, or possibly even 3. This is one of my possibilities, which is it's going to be about freedom. You can take the side of either the Institute or the androids in a fight for freedom.
Institute or...
Right,
yeah, I suppose.
Obviously, the Institute, we know they've constructed androids. We know that they have a problem with some of them becoming self-aware and trying to escape. And I reckon, and we know about the Underground Railroad in Fallout 3 that was trying to help them. I think that you can take the side of either the Institute or the androids and either freeing them or subjugating them. And that would be an awesome way to tie it.
Then you've also got the Brotherhood is still backing up the androids.
Yeah, what I was going to say that also the other thing that I think could happen, just from what you need to do is you need to look at the Brotherhood. They're obsessed with technology. Other than the ones in Washington, they're religious, they're tyrannical, they're obsessed.
They're bastards.
Yeah, they're pricks. And although they don't go out their way to kill people, they have no issue with it if they're in the way of their technology. Now that would put them into direct conflict with the Institute because they also have a large amount of technology.
Just think back to Fallout New Vegas, where you had, if you played it, with Helios 1.
Yep.
So the NCR wanted in on that technology as well. The Brotherhood held it down. They held it down to the last man.
They did well.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, they got fucked. But
they were killing them 10 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. But the idea was that this is some massive technology and no one else was going to have it. If they have to fight down to the last man to ensure that, they have to ensure that. And it's their whole mantra is we are going to take all the technology and we are going to govern you. If you think the MIT being there, the base of the Institute, it's this massive base of technology where it's all being developed, they're pushing out new stuff, they've got a lot of old stuff. The Brotherhood wants that. The Brotherhood doesn't agree with anybody else having it and it's going to get it.
And what I think is going to happen here is in Fallout is they're going to take on the popular idea that happened in Skyrim, which is where there were 2 main quests. One in Skyrim obviously being focused around war and freedom, all of that. And then the other one was based more personally around you and what's going on in the grand scheme of things. I personally think that one of the main campaigns is going to be your involvement in a war between the Brotherhood, the Institute, and also androids trying to become free. I think that's going to be really awesome. You see in the video, the trailers, that you fight Siths, which appear to be androids, their combat versions. I think there's definitely going to be a 3-way war here and you can take a side.
Yeah, and as you guys can see from the picture here, there's a Brotherhood of Steel ship. It's got the Brotherhood of Steel logo on it. You'll kind of see that there.
Can't see it in this picture, but it does have the logo.
The Pride one, which is Welsh for handsome.
Yes.
So I did a bit of research. Also, King Arthur's mythological ship. They're travelling from to some magical land. I don't know if that's going to tie in at all. Whether they've got some weird technology, I don't know. It'd be cool if it did.
Cool.
It would explain why the name. I mean, it's a very random name. But this is obviously, I'd imagine, you taking side with the Institute, blowing up this Brotherhood of Steel ship, like this huge thing. Maybe it's got something to do with the oppression. Massive ship going around all the time.
Exactly. And I think that, so that's going to be one of the main storylines. It's going to be you fighting in this war, and I think that's incredible. Just like in Skyrim, you're participating in a war, you can choose sides. And then I think the other quest is going to be based around your children. Your child. The reason I think this is you and me both agree they wouldn't put that much detail into making a child that looks like you and your wife unless it had a bigger part.
Yeah, that child's definitely going to play some kind of role. So the only way that will work is if your child is in stasis with you. Because obviously you're 200 years in the future.
Yep.
So your child's not going to get 200. Some people are saying it could be like a very distant relative, but if you think about it, if you're basing what the child looks like off of you and your wife, and then it's distant relative, then that's not going to have any bearing. I can imagine, it's a possibility that it's just a cool little nifty feature that they put in so they can wave it in E3, and your child's going to die, and hence why you're called the sole survivor. Well, it's a possibility, but I doubt it.
I'm not so sure. I think you're called the sole survivor because you're the only person that survives in that vault. I think that what happens is that you're going to get your main quest is going to be going for your child and maybe your wife as well. I think what's going to happen is that your child and your wife are frozen with you. We're presuming it's stasis. And 200 years later, you're awake. Obviously, some catastrophe's gone wrong. Your wife and child aren't there. They're not dead. Your main reason for coming out the vault is to go and look for them. Another suggestion, which I've talked about with a few people, is a possibility that, in fact, your wife and child went out to the wasteland at the start, 200 years ago, as in they were never frozen, and you may come across your grandchild. Someone like that. It would be an interesting way to go. It's not my favourite idea. My favourite idea is still going to look for your child. It'd be similar to Fallout 3, looking for your dad, but with a more, if you're doing this for your family, you're fighting for your family.
Yeah, I kind of hope that your wife doesn't feature. I don't know if you remember in New Vegas and in Fallout 3, you can sometimes have the options like bang people to get what you want. Yeah. I like that. That's kind of cool.
Yep.
Use what you got. But the guy, if you look it shows in the inventory at some point, he wears his wedding ring from the beginning onwards. Whether that means that she's still in there and it's like a commitment, it's a main thing. Whether it factors back to that, I don't know.
It seems that what I've picked up is he must have been frozen almost immediately after the bombs went off, because when he speaks to Codsworth, he seems to be completely unaware about what's happened and how destroyed the world is. That makes me think that he was frozen very quickly. He's come out, his wife and kid aren't there, everyone else is dead, he's got to find them.
Yeah, and so what you was going to relate to there is the first bloke that he really comes across when he gets out of the vault.
Who we think he does.
Well, we think he comes across.
Nice one, just dropped a can.
My can, as it goes. Is Preston, I think we decided on Healy. He's probably not. We're probably getting that from Orange is the New Black. Preston something.
He seems like a cool guy.
Yeah, seems like a good guy. I reckon he's going to have some bearing in the campaign as well.
I think he could be a companion.
Yeah, maybe you help him with his situation, and as a result, he helps you with yours. Helps you sort of get like a lay of the wasteland and sort of go out and have a look.
From the way your guy's dressed when he has the conversation with Preston quickly, and from the fact that he has to pick up the laser rifle, which doesn't look like a high state weapon, it looks like a gun you would get early on. I'm getting the opinion you meet Preston very quickly.
I get the feeling that the laser musket is sort of tied into the hunting rifle, like an energy version of the hunting rifle.
I hope they still have a hunting rifle. That's my favourite gun.
Yeah, hunting rifle was just a sound, and you actually cock the bullet in.
Oh,
that was epic. If that was some Mozzet whacking a scope on, that'd be epic.
Yeah,
absolutely epic.
Completely agree.
Yeah, and the final part about the story that really we're going to talk about is the arena.
There's a big fighting arena. You can see from the picture here some woman successfully killing another man. There's a gentleman in the background who seems to be singing.
This looks commentating.
This looks like some sort of club. And I personally think it could be in Diamond City, whereas you disagree. You think it's in somewhere more primitive, like a raider place. It's possible.
If you look at it, it doesn't look really Diamond City in the background, does it?
No, it's true.
I could be wrong. It could be inside somewhere.
It doesn't look like it's in a vault. I mean, I have seen from the trailer that some of the vaults have now got almost like towns in them. I saw in one of the vaults it had been taken over by some sort of organisation. They've got flags up and signs up, rather. So I don't, but it doesn't look like it's in a vault. You could be right with the raider camp, but I personally think it's going to be in somewhere like Diamond City.
Yeah. I can see it happening, just not what really I think is going to happen with it. Either way, it's going to be cool, it's going to have its own storyline to it, maybe some gambling in there, maybe similar to how we were saying earlier on, your baseball is a factor. Maybe it's going to be like arena fighting is a factor, it's something you can do to get a bit of extra money, a bit of a side quest thing, you can go on it from sort of that point of view. Maybe the woman that you see in the train, the thing is like an arena champion, maybe you can get her as your companion, it might all tie in. It's a lot of mites, Anyway, and we'll move quickly on from there to Rebuild
Towns,
which is definitely one of the things that's got me.
It's incredible.
Yeah, the most excited about it.
Honestly, fully erect right now.
Yeah,
I'm pushing the table up.
Yeah, so a lot of this thing it ties in with local leader.
Yes,
which we talked about in skills earlier on. A lot of buildings require that, which makes sense to me.
Very, very similar to Fallout Shelter, the way it's designed with the top bar as well.
We'll go into more detail. There'll be more details with what we've got about all there in a bit when we go into the user interface and the heads-up display. We're going to talk about what we see right here. So the first thing that you can see is him scrapping materials. So he's scrapping something over there to get 8 bits of steel. Okay, so that's obviously doesn't just help towards building your town, it also helps with crafting.
Yep.
Still, as we saw earlier on, is a material that's used there.
I like the idea that you can get a whole house and just kind of crunch it up into a little ball, stick that in your pocket.
Yeah, and you just carry it off with you. Yeah.
But it's a very cool idea, especially because of the way that they stress that it's not compulsory makes it slightly cooler, because it makes you think, that what I like about what everyone loves about video games is the wanting, the desire to get something. And once you've done that, you get bored. Now, in this idea of Fallout, you can put a lot of time into building your town, making it very big, really cool, you want to do that. Once it's complete, whereas in other games, once you've completed something, you're immediately bored. Once it's all complete and ready, you can now think, right, it's perfect to support me in my quests. And now you're doing your quest thinking, it's all right, I've got a town full of people, they've got resources, they're ready to look after me.
Yeah.
So I think this is just you can spend a lot of time wanting to do this, and then at the end you're not bored, you're ready for another battle.
And so you build it up,
Yeah.
and then NPCs start arriving.
Yes.
And you get traders in there as well. To build a merchant stand, as you can see, you need local leader level 3.
Yep.
Without that, you can't build it, which makes sense. Again, it makes you wonder how that leveling system is going to work. Whether you have to do lots of shit in your community, maybe side quests, maybe just looking after people, or whether you just put points into it. I think in this scenario, it would make more sense if you put points into it specifically, rather than working it up. But the NPCs that arrive, as you'll see in a minute, which we'll gloss over on the UI, is that to build a bed, it says it requires a dweller.
Yes.
So what I'm wondering is whether you get the NPCs arriving, you look at their stats.
You'd think it'd be the other way around, wouldn't you?
You would think it. But you had to have beds for dwellers to get in.
Yeah.
But I imagine whether it's going to be, you look at a dweller when they arrive. You know how in Fallout Shelter they've all got their own special.
Yeah.
You look at something akin to that, and you decide whether you want them in or whether you don't.
Okay.
If
you build a bed, then they can turn up.
Yeah, exactly. They can turn up. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, we don't really know the explanation for that. It could be wildly off, but I think that'd be a cool way of doing it. The other important thing, definitely, to regard as power. Power in the game is going to be a huge factor to the protection you set it.
I wonder if once you put a generator down, that's it makes power, or if you have to fill it with something.
I don't think you have to fill it.
Well, maybe I think so, because if you had to do it, it would be time consuming and pointless. But since you've got a town of people, I think someone's job might actually be fueling.
Yeah, I don't know where you'd get the fuel from.
Well, anything from extracting from cars are nuclear powered, but I'm sure that there would be some way.
You could then argue maybe generators nuclear powered too.
Well, we did see in one of the pictures that there's not one we've put up, but one of a
but we'll get
power generator.
Yeah. We assume it looks like a power generator. That's what we're thinking.
Yeah.
It's wired into other things. There's people standing around with clipboards and shit.
Yeah, it looks badass as hell.
Yeah. All we know about the power so far is that the small generator, which you get in the first one, it supplies 3 power.
Yes.
If you look up on your top bar there, it's part of the HUD is how much power you get, and a light uses 1.
Yep.
So once you've got that whole thing going, you can hook terminals into the system, control what's going on with those terminals. So that's including of tyrant control systems, which we should probably move on to as well. Massively important. So your settlements, we can see that they can be attacked by raiders. I imagine they could probably get attacked by possibly super mutants too.
I think that would be a likely possibility.
If you think of big town in Fallout 3, that got attacked by super mutants, people got carried off. I wonder if there's side quests through that.
It's possible.
If your defences fail, then you've got to go and go save people from super mutant hideouts.
There's got to be a way that if you're. What we don't know yet is if they get attacked while you're not there, which is I would imagine likely. And I would imagine you get some sort of notification, maybe an alert on your Pip-Boy saying you're being attacked. You could set up a radio station in your base for your people to use. Obviously, there's not much you can do about it if you're hearing about it.
And if fast travel isn't a thing through the Pip-Boy, there's again not.
But you're right. The defence system is very important, and I think there's going to be a really, really cool aspect because you've got both unmanned and manned defence systems. What you see from what you hear about from when Todd Howard is talking about it, is that there's going to be what we've seen so far anyway. Is that you can see a man stands guards. You can tell people to stand guard. You see auto turrets, which look pretty cool. They're cool little powered things.
They do require gun nut level 1
yes, they
to
do,
build.
and they require power. And also, you see manned weaponry like mortars.
The mortar,
And the way the person was dressed when they fired the mortar, I don't think that you select someone to use that. I think that when you get under attack, when you get attacked, your AI will immediately, the AI of your NPCs will immediately go and man weaponry.
I like the idea of having guard duty. And
well, you can tell from that bloke who's standing there, you probably do tell someone to go and guard duty.
Some dude's on a little makeshift, not really a tower, but a platform that he's shooting down from. I like the idea of guard duty. I like thinking if you don't like someone, you can give them half a day of guard duty and they have to sit around. I appreciate it's an AI and it doesn't really give a shit, but I'll get personal satisfaction from it.
Another thing that I think is really, really cool is that we know that you can have multiple towns. You can have Brahmin caravans going between A and B. And what's very cool about that is you and me both think that they can get attacked along the way.
Yeah, and you've got to get like a mercenary guard or some settlers there.
Which is very cool. This makes me think, with all these different activities you can do, it makes me think that you can have a very high population. Whereas you know, you think of Fallout towns, you know, they haven't got the good amount of the numbers because of the ability to render all those players. I think that, like all those NPCs, I think that, whereas originally I was thinking more like 10 to 15 people, I now think that maybe you can have, with your various towns and your caravans with people guarding them, I'm thinking more in the area of 50, I think.
Yeah, it'd be cool if it was like drew in from Fallout Shelter to have like 200 in each town. That's unrealistic.
It's entirely possible. If they're dumb NPCs, it's entirely possible.
Yeah, I don't know how dumb they are though, because they would have to have algorithms for defence.
Yes.
Unless you could only set maybe 20 for the algorithms for defence, and then 10 for trading, 5 for trading, and the others are just dumb NPCs that do things like farming over and over again.
I think this is going to be very hands-on. So if you want a Brahmin caravan sent, you go to one of your blokes, and you send him over to the caravan, you activate the caravan and say you want to send somewhere.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's automated.
I think it's going to be similar in the sense of you see people farming in the thing, so you have certain farmers.
Yep.
They farm crops which supply food for the dwellers, and maybe excess is sold to other settlements, etc., generating the economy and all that, because something does have to drive the economy.
Yep.
I definitely think there's going to be some massive Fallout Shelter crossovers though. We're going to keep on seeing them.
You can tell from the bar at the top that it's associated.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go to that again with a heads up when we hit that in a minute. Something to just quickly tap on is the furnishings that you've got there. So you get things like dressing tables, lamps, stuff like that throughout the houses.
I think there's going to be easily dozens of furnishings. Easily.
Exactly. Just to keep things fresh, keep things different.
And to personalise it as well.
Yeah, you don't want everything looking the same.
No.
You can get as into it as you want to get into it.
Yeah.
Like if you've got like a different personality in your head for every single person, bit weird, but you know, if you want to go down that way, you go down that way.
Yep.
Which would be pretty cool.
Yep.
Other than that, you've got the gun up for the turrets, and the way that the settlers actually man the defences. We grazed on that earlier on, but as we were saying, when you've got guard duty, you don't think that you have a specific person to man the mortar. You think that whoever's just nearest runs to it. I reckon that you have to have a certain amount of people. I think you have to allocate someone to jump on the mortar in the event of attack.
Oh, okay, that's possible. So like a crossover from having someone manning it all the time and someone just ready to jump on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Having it manned all the time is a waste of a person, but having someone ready allocated in the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, from there we're going to move on to UI and HUD.
Yes.
So what we're basically doing here is, as opposed to just including this with other information, there's a shit ton of information that we gathered from the user interface and the HUD of the game.
It looks like while keeping it the same, they've actually changed quite a lot as well.
So we're going to start off with the weapons. So what we're going to start off with the weapons, as you can see on the Pip-Boy here, it's the compensated pipe revolver rifle.
Yep.
Okay, so that is, you'd imagine, if it's a revolver rifle, a pistol that's been made into a sniper.
Yep.
Which is pretty cool. You start off with, at the top here, you've got the damage. So the damage on this gun's 22.
Yep.
So we imagine that's the amount of damage done per bullet.
And you can see that it shows it's stronger than the currently equipped weapon, which means it compares.
This interesting thing. So if you look below, it has a picture of a gun, and it's 18, I believe.
Yep.
I can make that out. I believe at this point in the E3, he was wielding the 10mm pistol.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you can see it's selected.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There you go. And it's got a little heart next to it, so it's favorited.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe that means that it's on the hotkeys as well.
Mm.
Yeah. That's what we're thinking. You know how you on the Fallout 3 you have the D-pad selected for different things.
Yep.
Yep. Anyway, so it does 2 pluses more than that, and that's 4 damage. So I wonder how that little ratio works. Then it tells you the type of ammo that you're shooting, which implies that, if you guys remember, you had the Gunrunner's Arsenal in Fallout New Vegas.
I do remember that.
Yeah, and you had
Very cool.
hollow point ammo. You had explosive rounds.
I hope they have different types of ammunition.
Well, you would if it's telling you the type of ammo that's loaded into the gun. You imagine that it would.
Well, no, I think that's just showing you the ammunition that it. Don't get me wrong, you could be absolutely right, but I think it's just showing you the type of ammunition that it takes.
Yeah, that it could use. Fair point.
But it's entirely possible that they have 45, then they have hollow point 45 and buck 45. You know, loads of different types.
Yeah. Then you've got below that, you've got the fire rate, which is stated as 6.
Yep.
I don't know.
Which is less.
Yeah, which is 3 minuses less, apparently. Yep. I don't know what that would mean, the fire rate for 10 minutes, but what I am interested in is what that fire rate relates to. Because it's obviously not bullets per second.
No, what it means is, what it'll be is, it'll be like a generalised thing. So I'll be talking about the fact that with a pistol you can squeeze off bullets non-stop. With a sniper rifle rather, it's gonna, you've got to fire one, then maybe cock it, or it just takes a second to fire it again. It's showing how slow it takes between firing one bullet and firing the next bullet.
I don't think it'll be an arbitrary unit, or by arbitrary unit I mean just a unit that's whacked in there for the ease of maths. I think it's going to have a bearing. I think it might well be like number of shots can be fired in 10 seconds.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, because if you look at it, it says that you've got 6 bullets of that type as well. So I imagine it's got, obviously it's a revolver, so it's probably got a 6-clip mag,
Yep.
right? So it probably factors in your reload time in there as well,
Yep.
which is handy. And it probably means that within 10 seconds, you can fire off 6 bullets and reload.
Yep.
Yeah, I reckon it's something to do with that. Below that, which really interests me personally, is range and accuracy.
Yes.
That completely changes shit. So you've got 191. I don't know whether
Range is
that's
significant there.
yeah,
Obviously.
whether that's feet or meters.
I'd imagine it'd be meters.
Yeah,
For
100.
a sniper rifle, 191 meters.
But
is
it's
there.
not. It's not necessarily a sniper rifle. It's a compensated pipe revolver.
Yes.
Yeah, so a revolver having a range of 191 meters.
If you look at the scope of the barrel, it suggests that it's
yeah,
normal.
yeah. So if that's meters, that's awesome. Or
Yep.
whether that could well just be an arbitrary unit.
Yep.
And the same with the accuracy is obviously an arbitrary unit.
Yep.
That's awesome. That means that you can, if your gun's not very accurate, you're like, I'm not going to be able to put off this shot.
Yeah.
Distance. Or if it's got that kind of range, I'm not going to be able to put off this shot. I wonder whether it also means like arcing distance, or you've got arcing distance of bullets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily see that happening. I think that's a very niche area of people who like that.
Yep.
Arcing bullets. Like you play Battlefield.
Yep.
Right?
I love that.
Battlefield players love that, right? I don't.
I don't think it'll be in the game now.
Yeah, personally.
This isn't that kind of game.
Yeah, I don't either. And below that, as standard, you've got weight and value. And again, it tells you more or less.
Yeah.
So obviously, the weight is a lot less than the 10mm pistol,
That's
which
interesting,
is interesting.
That's surprising, huh?
Makes you wonder how much it is.
Yep.
And they also got like point something on weapons, whereas normally they didn't have that
No.
too much. And then you've got value, and it shows you that's more.
Yep.
The next UI that we're going to look at is from the rebuild feature.
Yes.
So, if we're looking at the UI from the rebuild feature, along the top, you've got people, food, water, power, safety, beds, happiness,
Yep.
and size, and there's a sidebar. We're going to go from left to right. On the bottom, you've got like some preset structures as well.
Your people is obviously your population.
Yeah, obviously, and that's going to have a bearing into
Yep.
other things as well. I mean, like how quickly things decrease.
What I've noticed is that if one of them isn't at the level they need to be, it goes red. Obviously, right now, because there's no people in this town, you can see that food, water, power are all fine. Safety's red 0 because it doesn't matter if there's people in there or not, there's still the threat of attack.
The other interesting thing is the amount of people and the amount of beds are two separate things.
Yes.
Which kind of suggests that beds needs to be higher than people. So you can,
Yep.
if you want an increase of people.
Yep.
And I imagine if you don't have enough beds, you're going to have a decrease of people.
Yes.
People are going to leave and go elsewhere.
Yeah. I think it's entirely possible people can leave your town.
Yeah. Then you've got food, water, and power. Pretty much the exact same symbols as in Fallout Shelter.
Yes.
Yeah. Basic requirements. So if you go from what Fallout Shelter says, rooms need power and dwellers need water and food.
Yep.
Obviously, your rooms themselves don't use power. I don't think, unless you have specific kinds of rooms which you can build. But
Yeah.
I don't really see that. It's more the equipment itself uses power,
Yep.
which is interesting. And the more people you have, the more food and the more water you require.
Yep.
I wonder whether food and water is amount generated or amount stored.
Yep.
Yeah, that could be something like that. Then moving on to safety. So safety here is red and 0, like as Andy's saying, like that is red because it's too low for your
Yep.
settlement, regardless of the fact that you've got no one in there. What I noticed is in the videos, when the guy puts down defences,
Yep.
that goes up regardless of position. So you could just have a load of guns in one place where they're not going to defend anybody.
Doesn't necessarily mean then, say if you've got a safety of 100, it doesn't necessarily mean your camp's that safe.
Yeah, it just means that people view it as safe.
Yeah, you can have tons of turrets just looking at walls.
It's an exactly. It's an arbitrary safety rating, which doesn't mean too much. Obviously, if it is 100 and you're not trying to kill everybody, it's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It's still going to be able to like nail the shit out of people. But we're wondering as well with attacks. So if you've played Fallout Shelter, as I'm sure you have, you start off with raiders with
Yes.
the only melee weapons.
Yeah.
There's raiders with guns, and then after a while we get like over 100, which
I
did.
like the prospect of proper attacks. You know, you're
Yeah.
talking Deathclaws or Brotherhood of Steel
Yeah.
attacking or something like that.
So I don't know about it. Probably depends what quest line you pick,
Yeah.
who's going to attack you. But then you move up to Deathclaws on Fallout Shelter, which I don't
Bit
know.
of a
if-
jump.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you've had that yet.
Yeah, I've dropped bricks playing that game.
Yeah, that absolutely fucks the shit out
Yeah,
of
it
you.
really does.
Yeah.
There's no defence.
Yeah, I was hit so hard. doing
Smacking the stim packs on your characters as they're getting
that.
attacked
Yeah,
by Deathclaws.
exactly.
Yep.
And then the Deathclaw runs to another room where no one's got any guns,
Yep.
and you just get shitted up. Yeah. Moving off there, you've got beds, which you covered, and you've got happiness, which again is very reminiscent of Fallout shelter.
So it's a 50 now, which we presume is the base happiness.
Well, yeah, base, and then it goes down or it goes up.
Well, I guess if there's not enough food and water, it would go down.
Yeah, and I reckon that the lower it goes, the more likely people are to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you've got size, which is a bar, which is interesting. We're wondering whether that means the amount of stuff that you've got on the site,
Yep.
or whether you can upgrade the actual site to cover more land.
It's possible.
Yeah. You see some sites in the pictures that look pretty big. I don't know whether you guys have seen them or not, but yeah, you will see them. And that size bar, hopefully, the upper end of it means that you've got a really big population.
Yep.
Sorry, not population, but a really big site, because then you can really start doing a lot of awesome crap on your thing.
Yep.
Whereas if you look at the building sites that he's got presets in the game, they're about the size of one house.
Yeah.
Which I don't want. That's too small for me.
It would seem that, yeah.
Yeah, I'd want a large area that I can mould.
I want multiple buildings, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think, from what I've seen from the pictures of examples they showed, there is one major building, everyone is in that, and then outside is the farming equipment, the defences, walls. I think that the base of your, base is going to be just in one big building. I'm not happy about that.
Not only hope that you can have two, I really do think you're going to have more than one building. I think that's going to go up. I think, if you remember in the defences, you could see he had that tower in the middle of the road.
Yes.
Which would either mean that the rest of his settlement is walled,
yeah,
or it would mean that he's got bits of settlement on either side of the road.
Yeah. I hope that you can wall off your settlement.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Very cool. You see the gate defences where there's a tripwire when you go over it, fire shoots out.
Yeah, or maybe they only ever attack from the road.
Yep.
That's another possibility. I'm trying to think back to the videos now. I can't remember whether or not they had walls.
Yep.
And the final UI that we really want to talk about is the armour,
yes,
which we referenced earlier on. So if you look at the armour UI, what you've got is you've got damage resistance, health, weight, and value. So damage resistance is split into three different fields,
yep,
which is physical damage resistance,
energy damage resistance,
and radiation resistance.
Looks like it's got some very good red resistance as well.
That's a little triple team we got going there. Yeah, we don't know how each one of them affects things.
Yep.
So we don't know whether 130 is high, whether 130 is low,
yep,
or how that affects the damage itself that hits you. It'll be interesting to find out, to say the least.
It seems like, however, energy weapons are the way to kill someone in power armour. If you look at the resistance compared to some physical damage you can take, it's significantly higher than energy damage, which makes me think that if you're coming up against, even in your power armour, enemies that have got maybe Gauss rifles, laser rifles, they can pack a punch against you.
That might just be with this particular thing. I mean, there's a shit ton of customization. Like,
yep,
you've got left leg, left arm, all that kind of crap
yep,
in it, right? So it may be that you might want your, I don't know why you do it, but your right leg at like 130 energy and the left leg at
yep,
130 physical, and they can just be tossed up either way, and that way it's true when you go into a fight,
yep,
you want to make sure that you've got the best thing for that fight. Like, if I'm going to fight a load of energy players, so if I'm fighting, say, the Brotherhood of Steel,
yep,
or the Institute, who are bound to be using energy weapons,
yep,
I want to have high energy resistance.
yes,
Yeah. Whereas if I'm going out to fight animals,
yep,
or raiders who generally use physical damage, I want to be having physical resistance. I think it's something that you can trade in and trade out as you want.
Now, when we look at the individual pieces, they say weight and value. Now, these two things together pretty much confirm for me that you are going to be able to buy parts as well as craft them, because showing the weight means that you can carry the individual piece to then bring it back and build it, and the value shows to me that you can buy and sell these pieces.
And selling is what interests me, because I think that if you've got an excess of parts and not a lot of caps, you can build up different pieces of armour which are expensive and then sell them off to traders to earn some money.
I would say, I don't know if you agree, I would say that certain armours are going to be tougher than others to put on your, as in they're going to be better armour to put on your power armour.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yep.
And you're going to get different mods and everything like that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's going to be so much customization in it. One thing that we didn't really touch on, if you look at rad resistance on there,
yes,
I imagine that is environmental and from the attacks of creatures.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah,
it's got to be both.
Yeah, how much you get hit on there. And the other thing I talk about is health. So when we're talking about blowing bits off of people's armour and stuff like that, when that health gets reduced to 0,
yep,
that armour bit gets blown off.
Yep.
So what I wonder is, are there any damage types that are better at doing that than others? So like you see in the video, a rocket hits the side of him and it blows his arm off.
Yeah.
I imagine not explosive damage probably does come out of physical damage.
Yeah.
But if it's the method for killing people in power armour, you can't assess what mods they've got on there just by looking at them from a while away.
Yep.
So you just want to blow a piece off that fucking power armour and hit that point.
Yep.
You know, make a critical spot and just smash that critical spot over and over and over
Yeah.
again. Yeah, which adds another thing to that, because before, if you're trying to kill someone and you're close enough, you just aim for the head. You know?
Yeah.
Because it's the quickest way to kill someone. If you, by some miracle, blow a bit off the guy's arm, because you missed where you were hitting,
Yeah.
you're then going to be like, right, fuck it, I'm smashing that arm.
Yeah.
You know.
However, unlike other armours you strap to your person, with the power armour, I don't think bits can be blown off of it.
You see a raider who has his shoulder.
But you can tell that's like smaller. It seems like that's pieces strapped to them, because whereas yours is like a big suit that you get into, these raiders, the armour seems. I mean, one of them's not wearing a helmet. It seems less like a suit, more like parts.
Less like a vehicle, more like armour.
I don't think. I think that with other armours, when you strap leather to yourself, strap metal to yourself, I think that bits can be blown off. But with the power armour, I think it's going to be one suit. Doesn't necessarily have bits blown off. It may be weakened, stuff like that. But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong there.
At the very least, once you reduce that health to a certain amount or zero, you do a lot more damage to that part. I think that's safe to say.
I personally like the idea that when you're in the suit, you feel safer. So it's like getting into a tank. So you see a Deathclaw, obviously, you're going to shit yourself, and you can see that they can pick you up when you're not in your suit. But I've seen that when you get into your suit, you almost feel like you're a Power Ranger building up into the giant suit, and then gets ready to fight.
It's like
alien or
in
something.
Iron Man, where you see Tony Stark's like face and his HUD there, you know, like his heads-up display.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that in a way.
Yeah.
Like you're protected, you're in this thing, but enough damage is still going to bring you down.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is mobility.
Yep.
You know, and
you're going to be slower.
Yeah, that's just it. Don't get me wrong, you've got the 3D die. I said 3D. You can go up. There's a vertical dimension to it. You've got that jetpack, which is cool.
While you're in the suit, melee weapons, you're going to be able to use them to hell more. I think it's going to be a bonus with melee weapons. So I'll give you an example. Say you pick up a sledgehammer and you swing it as a normal person. It does damage, but it's quite slow to swing. I think that when you're in the suit, it'll be faster to swing, and you're going to do more damage with it. A proper wallet. Maybe if it's a raider, you can smack them miles away.
I don't know if it'll be faster to swing. Maybe like it takes longer to put it back when it comes down. It comes down harder.
But I like the idea that the suit makes you stronger.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Which is how power armor,
it's how it's perceived to be in the storyline.
And in like reality, if you were going to have something like power armor,
I've
always argued in like Fallout 3, if you had power armor on, it shouldn't have weight, because you don't actually, with power armor, you don't hold it up.
Yeah.
You know, it holds itself up, and you just influence how it moves. You know, that's why it's power armor, not just armor, and that's why it's got like gears in it, mechanics in it, electronics in it, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Anyway, definitely a very interesting part, which we're going to see a lot more of.
Completely agree.
Yeah. And that's the end. Yeah,
that's it.
We reached the end.
That is Fallout 4.
If you've hung on to this point, wow, you're as obsessed about this game as we are.
You're a brave little soldier.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and make sure that you subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Make sure you check us out on Facebook, on our website, probably on YouTube.
Yeah, you got any questions, or you got your opinion on what we've been saying? Put it in the comments below.
Absolutely.
Okay. Till then, see you next time, guys.
Bye.